Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Games Done Quick Hotfix. Today, we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Spyro the Dragon, which came out 25 years ago. I think today, if I were a smarter person, I would have made sure I knew the date, but it's like today or sometime this week or something. It's tomorrow, actually, on the 9th. I knew it was something like that. So we are going to be celebrating. We are going to have a run of the original trilogy 120%, and then we are going to have a run of the Reignited Trilogy at 100%. Before we get into that, a few quick reminders. GDQX will be live from TwitchCon October 20th to 22nd. The event will take place on the Games Done Quick stage, as well as streamed live on our Twitch channel. You can use exclamation GDQX in Twitch chat to find out more information and check out the games list. Also, Games Done Quick Awesome Games Done Quick 2024 will be live in person January 14th through 21st in Pittsburgh, PA. Speedrun submissions will close September 10th. Volunteer submissions will close September 18th. You can use exclamation AGDQ in Twitch chat for more information. And if you're interested in camera check-in, tech, or any of the other volunteer positions, you can be sure to apply even if you don't have any experience. With all that said, I will hand it over to the commentary and let them introduce everybody.
Hello, I'm Neon Green. I'm known as Neon in the Spyro community, and I'm here with the Holographic Squid. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm the Holographic Squid. I'm a big fan of Spyro, been a fan of Spyro my whole life, and I just love studying the game, do a bit of runs here and there, but yeah, just love studying it.
Both of us are speedrunners of this game. You tend to main 120%, what we're about to see Dragon Muffin do today. I tend to run some of the other categories. Let's see. We're at the main menu. Okay, getting ready to go. So a little bit about the expected time for 120%. Generally speaking, like for a beginner playing this category, to 100% the game with a route that's maybe not fully practiced, it might take somewhere in a 2 to 3 hour range. But Muffin here has a very competitive time. Recently PB'd this month and has a sub 1 hour and 30 minutes, which is on track to being like a top 20 time, but so far Muffin's still grinding and putting down runs, and it has a lot to show and a lot to prove.
Well, yeah, she does not plan on stopping anytime soon.
I'm going after him.
Find dragons first. That's all I can tell you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Sweet. Well, here we are in front of Nesta. This guy gaslit people into believing that Nasty Nork's the bad character. Actually, it's not. It's Nesta's the evil one. If,
exactly,
you'll find out.
Yeah, Nestor is supposed to teach beginners how to play the game, how to progress to the next homeworld, and for speedrunning purposes, it's annoying because it's a 30-second unskippable quote-unquote cutscene. But recently, speedrunners found a way to void out with using a soft lock mechanism, freeing the dragon at the perfect time, perfect frame, and basically skipping the unskippable cutscene. But now we have Sunny Flight, our first flight level. Squid, you want to tell the audience a bit about flight levels in Spyro?
Yeah, I think this is the perfect flight level to talk about, really, because it's got a bit of everything. You know, it's got cycles and it's got camera manipulation. So at the start, yeah, you need to basically manipulate the camera in order to manipulate those planes, because you can actually manipulate the camera in a way that those planes come into. It's not really a field of view, but imagine it's a sort of field of view, and it allows them to start their cycle sooner than you even see them. And yeah, that's one of the main things. And soon we're going to see an animation skip coming up. The Ragger's going to bonk Spyro against the wall whilst flaming the last collectible, and that's going to enable us to skip the
Oh, the recovery.
There you go. Right there. That
it's not supposed to look like that, but
saves about, you know, a good like 4 seconds. So, and that means a lot in a category like this, especially when it's so optimized.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of that, in this category, 120%, the focus is a lot on recoveries, because you have to grab everything. If you miss anything, you have to have either a strategy or a sort of reaction, a play to go get that missing item.
Yeah, that's everything. Actually, I think something about this game that it's not spoken of enough is how important recovery is, because it's a long run, you know, and you're going to be making mistakes. No one's perfect, and just being able to have that knowledge of how to back things up is what's going to be saving you a lot of time throughout the run.
And it looks like Muffin's going for the out of bounds route, which is good. A little bit of a slip there, but hopefully the out of bounds will make it up.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not too challenging of a route, to be honest, but there are things to look out for, which you'll see. There's two big Norks. You'll see them once the out of bounds is done. One of them you have to be careful not to trigger. The other one you just got to make sure you get there at the right. Well, you'll trigger that Nork as soon as we see them. But look here. So there's one to the far right. You can't trigger that one, but this one's fine. And it seems like the Rag has done that perfectly. So
yeah. And again, that has to do with cycles, as we were talking about. Whether or not an enemy has been loaded in from the camera, from Spyro being in a certain spot.
Correct. Ooh, missed the flame charge there, but yeah, I guess now might be a good time to mention flame charging, Neon, if you want to describe that.
Yeah, sure. Sparks and Spyro work together as a team to collect gems in this game, and Sparks tends to have a much easier time grabbing gems that are on the ground, whereas Spyro has to either be directly on top of it, or can use this technique called flame charging, where you can grab a gem in the air. And basically what it looks like is you are charging, so that's a square button, then you press circle really quickly, and then quickly recharge again, press square again. And if you do that at a certain angle, you can not just grab gems from these flame chests right there, those yellow and red looking ones, but also from enemies. But not all enemies can be flame charged. And the idea for speedrunners is it can save a chunk of, well, each flame charge saves a little bit of time, but over the course of a run, it'll really add up.
Yeah, and it helps a lot keeping those lines straight, and that's one very important thing about this game, is keeping those lines as straight as you can in the right moment. And there's a thing that's been spoken about quite a lot of in the community, of this idea of an invisible time save, because there's a lot of discussion around how far this game can go. And sometimes that's not really visible to the human eye, but it's just because of these little things that add up over time.
Exactly, yeah. The movement in this game is really deep. And as someone who's looked at it like from a task perspective, and has even looked at the RAM, it's just not a puzzle that you can solve simply, or, you know, that you can't really discuss optimal movement so simply when, like, for example, this level here, Stone Hill. The terrain is very bumpy. There's, like, you know, hills everywhere in Stone Hill. So, what is the fastest way to move Spyro on a terrain like this is not really obvious. And there's just so many different terrains.
That's it, yeah. Terrain is a big part. Just knowing the geometry of the levels is just, it's just integral of integral part of improving in this game, you know. And maybe since we've just hit a dragon, it might be useful to talk about dragons. They're a big part of the game, unfortunately, because they're all part of Nestor's evil plan. But what it is you need to touch the pedestal, the dragon pedestal, at a certain angle, because if you've maybe played the game before, you notice that Spyro needs to walk to a specific position after touching the dragon. So you want to hit them at an angle where Spyro walks as little as possible out of that. And another thing about dragons is that the loads actually may vary from disc to disc, regardless of fast disc speed or not. And there's another thing that's random about dragons, which I don't think many people really know, is that when they shatter, you see all those little bits flying out. That's random. The amount of bits that are exploding from the dragon, it's random, and can also add a bit of lag. And it also depends on what level that's happening and the amount of lag that's going on. So yeah, it's quite an inconsistent thing, these dragons, to be honest, but it's definitely interesting.
Right, and to kind of speak more about what you were saying, for that Nestor skip trick that we were talking about earlier, it's really interesting that glitch hunters started to blame Nestor in order to like reset the shaking, because there's a sort of like randomness to that too. So like yeah.
How like no one like ever spoke about that until like 2023 just like blows my mind. I mean, probably a few people knew, but I'd never heard about that in my life. Shouts out Days Bagabones for just the amount of work that he's been putting in recently. It's this year has really been a year of just fresh pair of eyes everywhere, you know.
And not only that, but lots of world records, lots of PBs.
Yeah, all over the board, really. Yeah, it's just actually kind of crazy, and I'm just really excited to see where this game goes in the next year, next 5 years, next however years, you know, however long it is.
So we have another egg here in Town Square. Most likely Muffin's going to go for the classical route. Squid, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about the other alternative route that any percent takes for this level?
Yeah, so if you're familiar with any percent, you may have seen Laura's run or Deoman's run on GDQ before, but any percent takes a slightly different route, and at the very start you may have seen the dragon, which doesn't look like it's actually accessible, but you can actually just about jump to make it to that dragon you see at the start of the level. And 120% Saboom, set runner-up and just legendary Spyro runner, legendary gamer, sort of took elements of the any percent route there and expanded it into 120, and it's harder, but it can be done. Saboom proves that, and it's got the current community gold, so I feel like that may say something about the legitimacy of the route.
So here we have fan chests, right? And it takes 3 flames for Spyro to break a fan chest, and it's really interesting to see what speedrunners do in that time to keep occupied. You know, like either charging the bowl, maybe grabbing some gems. You know, and again, this is a very cycle-based level. So if you aren't playing it perfectly, then the position of these bowls is going to be different, and then you have to react suddenly.
There you go, just like the Raga did just there, just adapted, and that's what I love about this game. That's, I feel like, what keeps a lot of people watching is just the improvisation elements of this game. It's crazy.
We got another out of bounds here. Toasty entry, the Toasty wall glide.
The first wall glide, and I guess the first. I guess that might be a good chance to just quickly mention charge gliding, which you're going to see a lot, but it's very important. Obviously, if you played Spyro, you know Spyro can jump and glide, you know he can charge, but a quick charge glide essentially allows Spyro to glide with as much speed and as much height as possible. So it's just a quick square and X succession of inputs, and that's very important for many tricks we'll see in this run.
In the air is what you're saying. So basically, to build on what you're saying, is that if there's a difficult jump that you're having trouble making in Spyro, if you try, rather than pressing X and then X again to glide, just throw a little square in there right before that last X, and you'll get more height, you'll go faster, and you'll just go more places.
Right, yeah, and then just to add to that, I think we'll see at some point in the run, perhaps, that can be used at certain tricks like proxies, but I think we'll mention that when we get to it.
There was a little dog vanishing trick there. That's been getting some discussion recently too. A couple of them. There's like different ways to have the dogs vanish, right? Isn't that right? Sometimes you can get them to go out of bounds. Other times, well, from the side of the map, and other times you can get them to you can KO them from like up above, like some sort of.
Yeah, essentially the hardest one, and the one that's it's been slowly implemented very, very gradually over like the last 2 years, it seems. I mean, I might be wrong on that, I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like that. And basically I think Saboom includes one in his recent community gold of Toasty, actually, and essentially you have to jump at the dragon the dog, and that pushes the dog up beyond where the game has programmed it to exist, essentially. So it just dies automatically like that.
And just like that, we're done with Artisans. The first homeworld. Artisans is by far the easiest homeworld. There are some difficult spots. Actually, the Dark Hollow level that we saw Muffin do earlier is often jokingly called like the most difficult level in 120, and it's because the out of bounds and just having to reset over and over again, having to do Sunny Flight and listen to Nestor all over again. I can kind of understand, but truth be told, all the most difficult parts of the run lie up ahead.
Very true. I think, in my opinion, I'm not the most seasoned runner, but I do think people spend a bit too much time sometimes on Artisans when there's so much time to save later on. Absolutely,
yeah. And it's the part of the run that you see the most anyway because of resets, so it's better to at least get it into Peacekeeper, this homeworld here if you can. So we have another flight level here. My understanding is that unlike some of the other flight levels, this one is more straightforward. Like there aren't like N+1 different routes that you can do. Maybe there's a slight reroutes where you get go through one portal and flame one lighthouse in a different order. But would I have that about right?
There is an IL version of this, and I think you'll find out with most flight levels there's an IL adaptation that's obviously harder, but because there's not that pressure of having to reset after a good pace because it's just an individual level. So, but I think actually Saboom actually does the IL route in his run, so at least he's got that in his gold. So
I've seen that actually. I believe recently again. Yeah. Okay, I know what you're referring to. There's actually speedrun categories for like flight levels individually, for category extensions. As you might have seen, Spyro had to collect a certain number of dragons in order to progress to the next homeworld. There is a cheat code that you can enter in the beginning of the game that lets you bypass these requirements and basically gives you something like a New Game Plus to work with. And that's basically like where a lot of category extensions begin. But there's other ones where you grab all the life chests, ones where the goal is to free all 80 dragons. And they're basically what I'm getting at is there's more than one way to play this game.
Yeah, that's really what keeps it alive, and you could just do anything. I mean, just today I was thinking, okay, well, I don't know if this has been done before, but what if we just did a category where we collected every spring chest and that's it? It would probably require, the all homeworlds cheat code, but it's just anything that puts your mind to testing the boundaries of the game is just what keeps it fresh. And I feel like we've sort of discovered that with the useless interactables thing.
I knew it. If you didn't say it, I was going to beat you to it. Yeah, we're in a cactus level. Let's go. Yeah.
Sorry,
some of you in the chat may have noticed that there are some objects in this game that you can kind of interact with that don't do anything. And when you're a kid playing this game with your family, I mean, they can. These sort of things can just bring a little bit more joy to it and more life out of it. And as speedrunners, we got so bored with Spyro because we're just so good at it that now we're just trying to collect all the useless stuff.
Yeah, it's great. No, it's really awesome, and just shouts out to you, Neon, and a few other people in the community who have really just tried to work with this idea and help me out. It's something I thought about a while ago, but I'm sure many people have thought of it before. Shouts out to Keep Your Horns On for DMing me and pushing me to really think about it. We spoke about that a lot in Discord.
Oh yeah, there's the flowers and artisans.
Yeah,
are another one. But anyway, we have a difficult trick coming up, right? They're very notorious in this level.
The spin jump.
Yeah, let's see how Muffin takes it. How they handle it.
We got these chests. You can actually do triples of those, which I've seen few runners implement recently. I know a runner called Zingo Chris, who's up and coming, has been implementing a few triples in this level, at least one of them. And that was great spin jump right there. Yeah,
absolutely. I say pretty fast too. Yeah. I have so much respect for all the runners in this community. Zingo Chris likes to joke that he's not that good at the game, but every time I watch him, he blows my mind. He's just absolutely amazing.
He is. Yeah, really, it's really true.
I think part of it is just how competitive this game is, and some runners have been playing for like 10 years, like continuously. So there's kind of like a giant mountain to climb, so to speak, and it can feel like you're up against giants. But really, just even like a couple of years is all it takes to get really, really, really good. But you do have to focus and ask questions in the Discord, watch other runners, pick up on little things, little movement optimizations. Even right there at the end of the level, we saw Muffin pause and then exit. And there's even some nuance to that as well, like ways to do it faster. And, you want to make sure that you grab that last gem before you pause and exit level. That's super important.
Oh, yeah. I think there may be cases where we will see Daraga just pause, just to see at the end or in that specific part of a level, has she collected all the gems in that area? Because sometimes you're just going in blind, and it's risky not to pause and check. It's about sometimes, if it's in a race or you just want to get that PB, it's about making these calculated decisions.
Now this little shortcut here, I can't stand that trick. And I'm a vortex runner. I mostly focus on tricks. I cannot do that for the life of me. That little around and about, at the start of left down. I mean, it's do or die. If you miss it, you die. It's one of those tricks, but it has that going for it. But still, it's very hard.
It is, and for a while I wondered how people get it so consistently. I found a way that works for me. John Onfill, quite a legendary runner who runs on emulator. I'm pretty sure he's like the king of emulator or something like that.
That's right. Yeah,
and he's done the human theory tasks as well, which we need more of. But he created his own little optimization for that little bit you were talking about, and I find it quite easy to do, actually. Like there's like a strategy or a little shortcut, a little route platforming, and it's interesting just how many different ways runners will approach it. So you'll have one trick like the spin jump, but 10 different people can post like their own way of handling the jump, and they can look very different and can be even exactly the same time. Spyro has a lot of moves. We were talking about charge gliding earlier, and we were also talking about flame charging. Do you want to tell the audience about doing a charging jump? A charging jump. We'll probably find some in the run, but... Well, a charge and jump is pretty much just holding square,
right there,
charge, and then pressing X. But there's many variations of that because you can charge, and then you can glide, and then cut off that glide immediately to charge again, and that's useful to really optimize and sharpen your movement. As you may notice if you're paying attention to these little details, because it is a lot, and this game just comes at you like a bullet train, really. Like it's a lot. Like there's just so much stuff that to talk about. It's quite insane. Like really, a lot more that meets the eye.
A lot of like tech options, sort of. Yeah. So the charging jump is where Spyro looks like he's galloping off the ground. And you can do different moves out of that compared to like being in a standstill position, being in the air. Spyro actually has a barrel roll, believe it or not. A lot of people like accidentally find some of these things. But of course, speedrunners did find a use for the barrel roll too. Go figure.
Barrel, you mean like the R1, L1 roll? Or...
Yeah, dodge. They might call it dodge or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a classic platformer. It's a barrel roll.
Yeah.
Shemp's a really fun level to practice ILs. So some of my favorite levels to do ILs for 120, because I don't run the category specifically, are Shemp and Dark Hollow and Jacques. I'm doing a bit of Jacques recently, and that's probably the tougher one.
Yeah, well, this level has its own, its own quirks for sure. There are multiple ways to do the level. You could opt to leave some of the gems that are at the start of the level and collect them later, because what you will find will happen very soon is that the Raga is going to wrap around after she's defeated Shemp. She is going to wrap around down, but you can extend that further, and I don't know if it's the optimal one, but it doesn't mean that it can't be. It doesn't mean that you can't use it in a world record setting. Let's just say.
Right, yeah. Sometimes not only are two different moves equally good, but sometimes two different routes are equally good as well.
Right, there is definitely a lot of debate around that, because every runner has their own style, and then every runner is going to play differently depending on what day it is. So really, just timing things is just kind of hard, and I think it's definitely useful to have an element of skepticism when studying this game, because if you don't, you end up having a bit of tunnel vision, and tunnel vision is not great. It doesn't really make things progress. Right. And yeah, that actually reminds me of the 120 task that was just released this year by Sorry, or I think they're called Mans on YouTube, but you can just find it by searching 120 tasks. And that, when I was watching that, I was like, wow, this is someone who doesn't really speedrun Spyro, has maybe done a couple of speedruns, but really has that brain to just look things from the outside perspective and be like, okay, how can we approach this differently? How about we go left instead? It's just little simple things like that certain routes are ingrained into people's systems because they may have a lot of trust that it's just right, and that's all they practice, and then they sort of forget that maybe just turning something around can just change everything.
Yeah. And another interesting thing about Sorry, as we know him in the Discord, was that when he dropped the 120 tasks on the YouTube page, Mans, I realized and noticed that we're dealing with an experienced tasser here. But as you mentioned, without years and years of speedrunning this game, how did we get such an amazing task? And I think part of that was the willingness to ask questions. Sorry was always asking, wait, what is zombie? Or what the heck is that? How do I get a supercharged sharp turn? Just asking questions is something that any of you can do if you want to learn anything that you see here in this category or in any of the others. People are more than willing to help.
Yeah, I really urge anyone who's interested to join the Discord. It's like an encyclopedia, essentially. Quite a jumbled up one because it's Discord. It's quite a very heavy social element to it, But just open up the Discord, go on the Spyro 1 server or any server you like, channel, and just read. And it's insane the amount of information there is. I was doing that today, and I booted the game up, read a message, and I was like, okay, I'm going to study this for a bit and then move on to the next thing. And you could just do that for hours. If you're really interested in the game, there's help out there, and there's a lot of information out there.
Right, and also if you're a Spyro enthusiast like myself, there are in the Spyro speedrunning Discord. Pretty much all the Spyro games are there. So you don't even need to be a speedrunner. If you like to play one of the handheld games, if you like the Legend of Spyro series, or Reignited, which is coming up after this, we're all in one place. And sometimes we also have our own separate Discords as well. But you can discuss Spyro with people. Recently, there was someone I believe new in the Discord who was showing off their collection of Spyro games. Others show off their art, and music. So, we're pretty active.
Yeah, no, there is never a break on that Discord, I will say, and I do love it. Yeah, well, this level's gone past pretty quickly. It's quite a long level, this one, isn't it? Compared to most in 120, I'd say. But it has multiple routes as well. It has a death abuse route, but that's not used, and that actually might be a good time to bring up life count. It's a very important thing, especially in 120 life count. It's actually just essential because there is an end game trick called credit skip. And Neon, this might be more your area of expertise. I know you're a big fan of Nasty Nork.
That's right. No, not a fan of breaking them through glitch hunting or anything like that. But yeah, basically, there's credits at the end of the game when you beat Nasty Nork. But as usual, like one of these, the tricks is involved by throwing two things at the same time in the game. And what we do is we beat Nasty Nork, collect the gems, and simultaneously jump in the lava so we die. And this allows us to skip the credits because the game thinks that we're dead. Now afterwards, if you still have lives remaining, you're going to respawn in the final boss level, and you'll have to pause and exit the level, which is a bit slower. But if you have 0 lives when you do the trick, then you respawn in the home world, which saves you from having to pause and exit the level. And the acronym that we use for it is CSGO, which is really funny because it's like, are you talking about Counter-Strike? Yeah. It can get a little confusing.
Yeah, so lives are important, and this run is very much routed around lives, and to some degree, actually no, to a huge degree, even your sparks count. You've got to keep count of sparks because there's plenty of cases where you're going to be taking damage abuse. So you got to know where the fodder are and how much health you have. I mean, me as you know, quite an inexperienced runner. I've only done about 3 or 4 runs, and you know, it's definitely something I forget about. I'm just charging through, and then all of a sudden I'm sparksless, which means that gems, unless I'm flame charging, aren't going to hone into Spyro. I've got to auto collect them, which makes things very difficult. So you've really got to be paying attention to a lot more than just moving Spyro around.
Yeah, and when Sparks is golden, as such as this, Sparks is at full health. Blue is taken 1 damage. Green is taken 2 damage, and then if you have no sparks, then you've taken 3 damage, and after that, if you take damage, you have to use one of your lives to respawn. If you've collected dragons, those serve as a respawn point, which is really cool, and you can save your game there. However, if you think that you can load your game up out of dragon, unfortunately that's not the case, but you can still save your progress there, and and replay the dragon too, if you wish.
Oh yeah, those beautiful catchphrases, you know. Thank you for releasing me.
Yeah.
every 10 minutes. I mean, that would just be, not even, it'd be like every 5 minutes you'd be hearing that. Oh gosh.
You ever think that maybe because they're elder dragons, that might be part of the reason they're always saying the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, maybe at that point, they've just lost their minds, really. I mean, I don't know what Nesta's done to them for them to, you know, speak Spyro that way. There are a lot of really absent-minded dragons, like...
Yeah. They really play on that motif in this. Have Spyro as the young dragon saving all the elder dragons.
It is funny, though, and I do appreciate it. Like, if I am chilling sometimes, I will just listen to the dragons just for fun, like, you know.
Oh, another out of bounds. That's a really cool. A lot of these out of bounds we're seeing here are standard in the routing, and Squid and I are like not phased when we see them. But I imagine to many of you, like, oh wow, that's really cool. Spyro just went through a wall, like you just clipped through a wall, and it's like we've done it standard. So like we should take some time to appreciate some of the cool things that Muffin is doing in this run.
Very true.
I probably since we've both seen this game a lot, like the recoveries probably are what catch us by surprise, or like interesting time saves. Like, wait a minute, whoa, that was a thief skip? What's going on?
Right, yeah. Thief skips it's actually quite a cool thing. I was
thief up here, right?
Looking at today.
Let's see if we got it. No, that wasn't the thief skip. But basically, there was a little animation there after you collect the egg, and it's possible to skip just part of it. I mean, I imagine it doesn't even save 1 second, but it's definitely a time save.
Oh yeah, essentially, as long as Spyro is in the middle of a jump input, you don't need to press anything else to skip that thief. Whereas if you just, like the Ragga did just there, if you just flame and just stand in front of the thief, you're going to have to manually press X. Whereas if you do like a flame charge jump over the thief, not only are you in front of the thief, but you don't need to press X anymore because you skip the animation by being in that jump state. So, yeah.
This is one of the more difficult sections in the 120 run, I think. It's also found in the 80% run. I don't mean to be like I sound like a broken record because I always bring up Vortex, but the man who broke Spyro in half recently gave us in the Vortex community a route that goes somewhere along these lines, and it saves like a whopping 4 seconds. Except that it's just not humanly possible. I mean, technically it's humanly possible, but even the current world record holder is just like, no, we're not doing this. Maybe things will change.
And the composer's one heck of a runner, so
absolutely, yeah,
that says a lot.
Yeah, he's actually having an event soon, or I don't know if he's hosting it himself, but they're having like a little Spyro sleepover. Sorry, speed running sleepover. Actually, that kind of works.
That works. Yeah.
Speed over.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Just little things like that happen. Just bringing people together. It's always deeper than just the game, you know. It's so many things. It's really like, it's just saying it's a lifestyle sounds very cliche, but it can really like build you, and it can build you in ways that you can apply to other aspects of life. Discipline is one of those things, constantly having to practice things like that supercharged there, like that just came out of nowhere. Like a lot happened there, and that's not easy. Like the Ragga made that look very easy.
That's a very difficult supercharged line, and you can actually continue it along here as well. It's called bike caves, but only from what I understand, the current world record holder and some of the former world record holders have even attempted it. Current second and third place don't even go for it, and in any percent it was dropped. It used to be the route as well, and they were like, it's not even that good. So, but in 120% where we have to collect everything, it sort of forces our hand. Where like this is the best option clearly.
There was one. I think that Tuval maybe either created I'm pretty sure he created it, and then he also used it in a run, which like goes around basically most of the map. I think they refer to it as true bike caves. But I once thought that was like optimal because it was in the Human Theory tasks, but then I noticed that Deo opted for something different. It sort of chops that in half and manages to be more efficient and optimal, I think. So I was just like, wow, like what a relief, because just having to go through like most of the level with a supercharge, quite crazy. And speaking of going through the entire level with a supercharge, actually before that we're gonna see like
a thief skip.
Thief skip here, but it's quite a unique one because you can use so typically what would happen is you'd use the fan of the fan chest to break whatever object you want in front of you. It could be like a thief, or it could be like a chest. I don't know if it can break like metal chests, but essentially you have to, when flaming it,
I don't know,
when destroying it, you have to direct Spyro towards what you want to damage with the fan chest. In this case it would have been the egg thief. But I feel like since we're in like a superchargy level, maybe a decent time to mention
sharp turning?
Yeah, sharp turning.
Okay. So one of the early taskers in the Spyro community, Nitrovsky, when he was tasking this game, he did this sort of technique where, and I've done this too, where you have like one layer that you are tasking by recording inputs with a controller, and then you'll try to optimize it and improve on it by using what we call a piano roll, which is like mouse and keyboard. Then you can paint over it with like directional input. And you know, you might be going rightwards, but then you're like, oh, I'm going too far right. So then you add like a directional left input. And what happened was Spyro quickly turned 90 degrees in the opposite direction from what was expected. So this is obviously really strange. The explanation is something to do with overflow of the speed, but in a certain direction. But although Spyro moves really fast in the supercharge, turning is really hard. And so at the task level, this basically just opens the floodgates for different possibilities. All right, so now you might be wondering, okay, can I do it? The answer is no, and the reason is because you need such a specific value on the analog stick that maintaining that is just not feasible. I mean, you can like put like a rubber band or a piece of cardboard, or I mean, you can go as far as modding a controller or whatever. But you know, this is sort of like a discussion that's kind of on the cutting edge, and some people are trying to actively avoid it. Like, we don't, you know, this is cheating or whatever. But it could make things more interesting if we had supercharged sharp turning in the game. But one of my comments in the Discord was, I think that y'all are underestimating just how fast this sharp turning is. It would be really hard to control.
Yeah, I mean, like,
really
you
hard.
see, like some of the clips you see, it's like someone successfully doing one little sharp turn, and that's it.
Yeah,
And that's
right.
enough to bring joy to everyone. And it's like, well, what about like the entire of Wizard Peak or the entire of High Caves? You know, it's like something else. But hey, you never know. Like with this game, like we always say, this is impossible, that's impossible, and you know, there's a lot of truths tend to get flipped on their heads.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my gosh. And like the sort of tech that we're discovering recently, like the sharp turning is sort of an older tech. We're finding all different like ways to like clip through the dragon pedestals.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, like a lot like new Coveless methods. Coveless is an 90% end game trick that gets to the final boss. I missed the triple here. That's like a very famous triple right there. Everyone wants that triple, but not everyone can get it. The triple flame chest, I mean, sorry,
Yeah,
spring chest.
The more I find out about this game, the more terrified I am of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like just mentioning like clipping through the dragon pedestals and stuff like that. Like I've seen videos of that, and I'm just like, wow. Like at some point, I may have to learn that.
We have another dragon skip coming up here. So basically, Spyro's going to go through the portal. If there was a white flash in the center of the screen, then Spyro freed Boldar while going through the portal. So this is another one of those things where we're throwing two things at the game. We're touching the dragon, and we're also entering a level. And so if we're able to achieve both, we can actually skip the sort of cutscene for Boulder, which saves 8 seconds. So place your bets. What do you think? Did Muffin for Boulder?
You read my mind. You read my mind on that one. Yeah,
Right,
chat.
right.
Go ahead. What do you think?
Did we get Boulder skip or no? If there was a white flash in the middle of the screen, then we skipped the dragon cutscene. We still collect the dragon, but we don't have to see their face.
I'm gonna vote yes. If I'm correct, Neon, you got to make a
Okay. I'll go
useless
with no.
interactables task for me by tomorrow. Okay.
By tomorrow, no. I need to sleep. Okay. Let's see. I'll go with no. I'll be the naysayer here.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with no as well.
Yeah.
Not to be a hater here, but
Oh no! We get. Oh my god! Get wrecked, commentators.
It was a joke. Oh, guys, it's opposite day. Okay, it's opposite day. Just a prank.
Just a prank.
Yeah, we were believing the whole time. Promise. Fingers aren't crossed.
Pinky promise. Pinky promise.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You see, those 3 flame chests at the beginning of Blowhard are of interest to me because actually this is one of my favorite 120 levels to do ILs as well. I really like this one also. And you have to do kind of like a fade back or like a fade away with Spyro, where you jump and then like hold down. And it's actually really hard to control these like fade backs, because if Spyro is just like the camera and the Spyro's angle has to do with it. And you might think like that by pressing down you're going to turn Spyro like clockwise, but then he just moves counterclockwise, and you're like, darn it, what did I do wrong? And you just fall off the edge.
It's Spyro's movement is very much relative to the direction of the camera, and that's something you will have to deal with, especially coming out of portals. You're going to see that a lot in the run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very important. So, for example, because the camera will be facing Spyro's face when coming out of a portal, if you want to turn Spyro right, you're going to have to be holding left on the analog or the D-pad, and then adjust as the camera turns back around to Spyro's back.
And on that point, I remember one time, Squid, you were asking me about whether using up and down affect moving left and right, like whether you can get sharper turns by using up and down in combination, basically using like diagonal right and diagonal left instead of orthogonal right or left. And well, actually what you were just talking about, exiting portals, is actually a really good proof for it. If you exit the jock level, trying to only do it with left or right, there's like a movement where you exit jock, you touch the ground, and then you go to is it Amos the balloonist? If you try to do that with only left or right inputs, it's not possible as far as I understand. You have to like use like up or down or like camera or something to get that smooth movement.
Yeah, it's very subtle in this game, I've noticed. And the same coming out of Whirlwinds, I think I've noticed that as well. It's not like Spyro 2 and 3, where Spyro just does a complete, just yeets himself out of the way, really, when you do a diagonal input for Spyro. In 2 and 3, it's completely different.
And here, being on the ground versus in the air is a huge factor. Like, mainly I was talking about being in the air, just to clarify.
Yeah.
This level is another cycle-based level. Blowhard was as well, but we'll talk about the cycles here. They call it the God cycle, right? When the electric cores line up.
Words. Yeah, like Titan cycle is another one I've heard. I'm not really sure what that is, but I think Titan cycle. It's either God or Titan cycle, but there's one that also includes the bit after the dragon, who's lying down on his side.
Yeah. I mean, I consider that entire, the whole line to be God cycle. But that's interesting that has a name, because I'm sure that a lot of 120 runners, they quote unquote hit the God cycle, and then they free. What's the dragon's name? Cypress or Cyprin? Yeah. And then they mess it up the next section, and it's like, oh, but I still hit God cycle. It's like, yeah, but you didn't hit Titan cycle. Like, I can see that being the comeback response of chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You hit God cycle, yeah, but you didn't hit Titan cycle.
It can include some very insane movement. I feel like sometimes it may have to include doing these next steps as magic steps. Magic steps is essentially doing charge jumps up those steps instead of jump charging. And you see Duraga did have to wait a little bit, which happens quite frequently. It's a very normal thing, even in the highest level of runs, to be waiting there a couple of seconds. Very normal.
Now, something that just crossed my mind, I noticed Muffin attacked an enemy from above with a jump charge, and the gem did not home in. It kind of popped out. And I've seen that a lot in my own gameplay and others. And part of the reason for that, from what I understand, is there's a bit of a timer from when you can collect the gem from when it first flies out, and it also might have to do with the sphere of influence. Spyro has a certain range that you can grab gems in the air, even if you're doing a charge, a flame charge or whatever. I'm not sure I quite understand it, but it's a fixable thing where if you see it a lot in your runs, it's definitely something you can fix by just going lower. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I tend to avoid going too above like the smaller enemies' hitbox if I'm trying to charge past them. If that's what you're referring to.
Exactly. Yeah. It just doesn't home in when you try to do it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, shouts out to Sparks. I mean, Sparks is really just working just 24/7, and he gets a lot of insults hurled at him. Let's just say during runs, and so I'd say quite so unfairly. I feel like it conveniently so. We've just discovered. I think it was you who posted about this in the Discord about that. There is a sort of random element to Sparks to some degree.
Oh yeah. I basically, I don't want to detract from the run too much, but basically, I showed a demonstration of something what we call the butterfly effect. How one small change can influence an entire course of an event. So basically, I had 2 versions of the same task, and one Spyro does a flame in the beginning, and the other one he doesn't. And I show side by side pictures, and Spyro is in exactly the same spot in all of the frames. And then when I posted the video, everyone had their different theories. And I had my own theory. I was sticking with it, which it had something to do with the flame moving Spyro's head upwards. So basically, the rest of Spyro's body was in the same spot, but not his head. And so basically, the idea is the random aspects and elements in this game can really affect the entire trajectory of the game. For example, there are fodder that are found in this game that are used for getting Spark's health back, and their movements are entirely random. And the endgame skip for the any % category for Spyro involves bouncing off of a rat whose movement is entirely random, and we can't influence it at all. And that's just to give one example. But basically, what I demonstrated in my little demonstration task was just how even the smallest of RNG elements can just throw everything off, even in between levels. They were totally disconnected. One started in Artisans, and then the sort of event change sequence break sort of happened in the middle of a Toasty level. So the RNG seed, the random seed, is kind of carried throughout the game, and that's enough of that. We're not talking about any % here.
Sparks haters be having a field day of that information.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it was interesting that Sorry mentioned in part of his theory that when he was tasking the 120 task, that he noticed that sometimes Sparks being closer to a bunch of gems, during supercharges, could actually influence. It could be easier to pick up those gems. Right now, you see Sparks flying around Spyro could be in front, to the left, down, right. In that little demonstration task that I posted in the Discord, that flame in the beginning of the task that changed the 2 of them actually also influenced where Sparks was. So, which I promise me when I say that most speedrunners do not consider that to be a thing. So really, it's just a very granular thing that some of the glitch hunters are looking at, and this won't affect Muffin's run here.
Yeah. So you 120 runners looking for excuses about Sparks. I see you. I see through it. Sparks does a pretty good job, and if you know roundabouts where you're approaching and how you're approaching it, you can get it down very consistently. I mean, that's just the proof is in the pudding. If you watch runners like Deoman, Saboom, Adams, Spora, just the top runners, you never see them complain about Sparks. Never.
No, in fact, there's some of them actually elect to play the game Sparksless. There's a little category for that, which is insane. And actually, some of the times for the Sparkless category, it's are you kidding? That's better than what I have with Sparks.
it's crazy. I think Adam has the world record for Sparkless, doesn't he?
For Sparkless, right? Yeah, I think it was Xando Toaster, and now it's Adam.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, Deoman probably has a Sparkless run. I didn't submit it.
Probably.
I bet you.
It was probably like
He
one
would,
of his
right?
like
He would, yeah.
random drunk challenge streams or something. And
Yeah.
I'll just do a damageless run today.
Yeah. But shout outs to Daoman for submitting pseudo 120. I just think that's so lovely. I love early loot. And that's one of my favorite category extensions, quote unquote, so to speak.
Oh, that terrifies me. That category terrifies me. I don't think I'd actually be able to do that on a PS Vita just because of the limitations of the console, and the pause buffering and the location of the start button is quite inconvenient for that, and that's a whole madness I can't even get into, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about early loot, but I feel like we're just going to get too sidetracked. Let's focus on treetops, because we missed Guanton and we were talking so much.
just before treetops, I just want to give a shout out to Guanton, just that area of all the frogs and the Norks. There's actually a category that has been created by Norkson, another good runner who's been around for a couple of years now, and he made a category called Damon Percent, where you basically have to reach the Guanton area as fast as possible and then collect the dragon in front of it. And I feel like that's such an underrated category, because it really just tests not just your movement, but just how you can deal with those frogs and those Norks. And that involves a lot of sharp movement and flame charging. So just wanted to point that out quick, because I think no one really talks about it.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. I might give that a go. Yeah, and Norks has definitely come up with some little fun category extensions. Some of his own useless interactables sort of categories.
Yeah.
So there Muffin went off the supercharged ramp, and it was kind of hard to see, but actually went off the side of it. And the idea is, even though it's very small, pay attention here. Spyro just flew off the corner of the ramp like that. There's like very fine details that the things that we as runners would look for. If you supercharge off the front of the ramp, then you get a lot of height, but you don't really go forward a lot. And so one of the optimizations is to charge on the ramp and then to ramp off the side a little bit. And another technique that you'll see is to jump, to get a full hop, and then charge onto the supercharged ramp. There's a couple other methods, but basically you want to reach top speed on the supercharged ramp. When Spyro is charging, there's a trail of flame, or I don't know what to do, red flame, blue flame, we call it. Here you see it's white smoke and then yellow smoke. Spyro, as he gets faster and faster, by maintaining supercharge and going on supercharge ramps, the color of the smoke changes, and the fastest Spyro can get is red smoke, which is possible in this level, and you see it in the TASes. It's really fast. And that combined with sharp turning, just forget it. It's a sight to behold.
Yeah, supercharged mechanics are pretty absurd. Does anyone really fully understand supercharging in this game? Anyone?
Yeah. Another interesting thing about that is how you can supercharge on the bridge in Twilight Harbor. And of course, we understand that it has to do with the supercharged ramp, connecting to that bridge, even though there's no arrows there, there's no visual indicator. But there could be more regarding supercharge, in terms of glitches or strats.
For sure, it's very complicated, and it's one of those things that I study a little bit and I just forget it, because it's just there's so many iterations of even just approaching the supercharge ramp. There's about 3 or 4 iterations of that, and how that affects your downhill and uphill speed. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's noticeable too, in a level like Wizard Peak for the Vortex category, which I usually play. If I do a charging jump, I'll get a totally different speed than if I do a full hop jump charge. Different smoke color too, yellow versus orange, and the difference is very, very noticeable.
Yeah. And we're at a boss level. This is actually... So you may notice that some of the boss levels don't have fodder. This has a couple of fodder here. I think this has the most fodders, and then Jark has fodder, but I don't even know how much fodder Jark has. It might just be like 1 mushroom or 2 mushrooms or something like that. So just kind of interested in the decisions that they make really with this game.
Yeah, you got to remember on the side area, I think there's more mushrooms, right? Like where the, like to the left of the cake area.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I think there's 2 areas that have mushrooms.
Right.
But that's in the Dreamweaver's homeworld. They have mushrooms as fodder, which is really interesting. Like it actually occurred to me like a couple of days ago. Like, wait a minute, they put mushrooms as fodder in the homeworld called Dreamweavers. Okay, I know what's going on here.
Yeah, they're very much aware. I mean, it is a very psychedelic, psychedelic homeworld, and even like the names, you know, there's a lot of mysticism behind the names. We'll see them very shortly, actually, because it's up next, isn't it?
Yeah, can't wait.
Crazy homeworld, and a lot of intricacy behind it.
Yeah,
the routing and everything.
Yeah, Muffin's just cleaning up this metalhead boss here. I actually recently did a lot of labbing in this level, but for the purposes of 120, like knowing like when and where the cycles start and stop isn't too important, because you just have to just keep in your line, do the route, and try not to mess up where you have to do recoveries, and you'll make the cycle. Like basically there's a lot of deconstructing of this game that still can be done, including reversing. A lot of people are looking into the code, and they want to see if there are more ways to play the game. Like recently, we had a Spyro 3.5. It was released by runner Jeremy Thompson, and I believe HWD is the reverser. And that's a great game. So there's even though this game was 20 years old, people are still finding new ways to play it.
25 apparently now.
25. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm old. I'm old. Squid, don't get old. Don't get old.
So here we are.
Yeah.
It is really hard to believe the game is 25 years old.
Yeah, I know, unbelievable. Yeah, and some of the new runners in the Spyro community, they're like, oh yeah, this was the first game that I ever played when I was 3. I'm like, what? You remember things when you were 3? And I can't relate. I can't relate. I remember playing it again when I was older, but it's shocking to me how many runners like claim to like still remember having played the game even at like such a young age. But I do hope that this is a lot of kids' first game, because it's a very kid friendly, and the dragons tell you how to play the game, but because we're all adults here and we've done this so many times before, we don't need their help. Yeah. We don't need to know how to glide, how to charge, how to flame. Like some of the advice they'll give you is certain enemies, how to beat them, because like this would be difficult for like a young child. Like, I can't beat this enemy, they're made out of metal, what do I do? And then, you know, one of the dragons is supposed to help you and tell you like how to do that.
It's very basic advice, but actually it is quite useful, really, because I remember I've got memories of playing this when I was like 4 or 5, even like just struggling the final chase with Nasty Nork when I could have just like ran maybe a little bit. Nice. Obviously that does require a bit of jumping and gliding, but the squeeze proxy, we got to talk about the squeeze proxy that just happened there.
Muffin just said it. Yeah, boom.
That was crazy. I don't think we've really spoken about proxies that much, but there's multiple different types of proxies in this game.
We haven't talked about proxies yet?
I don't think so.
We haven't.
But that case, there's many different types of proxies. That one was what we call a squeeze proxy. So essentially the Ragga charged in between the wizard and the wall, and the game is just essentially wants to eject Spyro out of that because Spyro shouldn't be in there. And depending on how correct me on this, Neon, but it's like how deep in between them you are, is
Yeah,
like
basically
gonna affect
their
how
hit.
high you pushed out, maybe.
That's exactly right. The way it's usually phrased is like they have like a sort of lingering hitbox, and they have a death animation. There are different kinds of proxies, as you mentioned, so I don't want to get too deep into it. But basically, what you said is the best explanation that could be given, which is that the developers saw when they were like testing the game that like Spyro could like beat an enemy and then go through them sometimes, and they consider this, unwanted. It's almost like an out of bounds, maybe. Like there could have been problems with the coding it that way. So proxies are definitely not an intended mechanic, but we're using the fact that their hitbox still remains. We can like chase after these enemies and get pushed by them. One kind of proxy is called an animation proxy, where the enemy is moving around and we can get a lot of speed or a lot of height from using their speed, because there's momentum conservation in this game. And at the top level, like the tippy top level, momentum conservation is the name of the game. They're not just, if you hold square, you charge and you go faster. That's basically the nuts and bolts of this game. But the problem is that it's hard to hold square all the time. With turning, with enemies throwing things at you, you have to. There's different ways to turn. So, when the next proxy comes up, Squid, please give me a heads up, and I'll try to talk more about proxies.
For sure. I'm just admiring these beautiful flame charges on the knights. You know, it's very hard. Because we've spoken about flame charges briefly, but each individual thing you're flame charging has its own range where a flame charge is allowed, and this is why knowing this game, you need to know about the enemy's hitboxes to really master the art of flame charging, because those knights right there, they're very, very tricky. I think most people would agree that they're some of the hardest flame charges in the game.
Right, and as someone who isn't a 120 runner, those metal knights in Haunted Towers is actually my personal litmus test to like assess how good you are. If I'm not looking at the whole run and you just happen to be on that level, I want to see how you do those knights, those metal knights, because it's not difficult to do. Actually, it is difficult to do, but it's even more difficult to do it fast.
Yeah.
And
in a
it's
run,
almost
yeah. Right.
Go on.
In a run and in a level like Haunted Towers, where if you die at a certain point and you lose that infinite super flame, you're going to be losing like 2 minutes. It's brutal.
Right.
Talk about well,
yeah.
Kids aren't. A lot of kids might not be really into speedrunning, but I would say Haunted Towers 120% is not the most kid-friendly level. Neither is this one.
Yeah, so we just freed Azizi. Azizi is like sort of interesting to me because in the 120 task, Azizi is the final dragon that is skipped in the task. And a technique similar to Nestor skip, which we were talking about in the beginning, is used. Not like the boulder skip one where you go through the portal. So, you can actually do like these crazy void out skips on all the dragons, but they're really, really difficult to task. So it wasn't worth it. But that one there, Azizi, was done in the task, and it was done for cycle reasons. Basically, the enemies in this level, they get bigger and smaller based on these fools that have the lamps. Well, they turn into lamps after you flame them. In a task setting where you're trying to do everything perfectly, if the enemies are like big when you're at their location, well, what do? You have to wait. So rather than waiting, we just respawn all the enemies in the level by skipping the dragon, so to speak. And that was one of the highlights for me personally.
Yeah, I found that mind-blowing. Honestly, mind-blowing. And like to a point where it's like, call me delusional, but I do want to test that out. like see if I could ever implement that in like a route, even if it's like in an IL or something like that, you know, in an individual level, because that's something also that we want to, that the community is trying to figure out how to implement ILs, which is, that comes with its own intricacies, which, you know, we can maybe discuss another time, just for the sake of the run. But shouts out to Flazuki, who keeps track of all the community golds. It's one of the most important assets that we have, just a playlist of community golds, so we can see just how optimized the game is currently and how far the game can go. Because Deoman actually made a video recently comparing his world record, which is 1 hour 20 minutes 40 seconds, to the community golds, and he calculated that it was about, the community golds add up to right now like 1 hour 18 minutes, and maybe it was in the 30s, but now obviously since Saboom's come back and taken a few golds, it's like in like maybe like 1 hour 18 and like 29 seconds or something like that, like something crazy. And that can all be improved on so much. Like,
wait, what did you say the sum was for the community golds?
It's something like, I think when Deoman had the comparison up, it was like 1 hour 18 minutes and like 30 something seconds, yeah. But now it may have gone down to like 118, like 29 or something, because obviously Saboom has come back and he's taken a few golds for himself now, so a few more golds for himself now.
Right.
So, and it's only getting crazier, really. I could see it going down to 117 personally.
Yeah. We'll probably see Clifftown be one of the next golds for the community, some of the best segments. I also want to point out that not only does that community golds playlist by Flazuki help a lot of speedrunners, just like see, okay, well, what is the fastest way to do each level, but it almost certainly helps with the tasks. And of course, yeah, there's the world record versus community some of the best video that you're talking about from Deoman. That's also a really highly recommended watch. I saw it live, and a lot of us in the community saw it. It was good, one of Deo's best videos.
It's great. It's definitely one of those videos that now is just on the list of things that I refer to when I am routing 120 for myself and trying to optimize it for myself and improve. You know, it's very, very important.
So we have Icy Flight here. This is the level is very difficult for me as someone who doesn't run this category. There's a trick at the end. There was two ways to handle the final collectible in this. One is called the dive bomb strat, and the other one's called a bridge strat. Squid, what do you do? And could you point out to the audience when we get there?
Yeah, I suck at this level, so
yeah, me too.
That's what I do. I actually have no. This is one. I'm really lazy with the flight levels. I'll be honest. I've sort of just kept them there for the side. It's like whenever I play them, I play them. It's actually been a goal of mine to actually try and improve on these, because this is actually not really the most difficult one. It's just that
no, not at all.
I'm sort of stuck on Sunny Flight and trying to optimize that for now, but. This was beautiful. Just the animation skip there. I feel like that's the most optimal one, isn't it, to do?
I think so, yeah. So basically, there's the animation skip, like you mentioned. You can dive into the train and the tracks, and you can also flame the TNT carts on the train, and then have Spyro touch the bridge, which I imagine would be slower, yeah. But and what's difficult...
Sorry to interrupt. I think I may be wrong about it being most optimal, because it is cycle based, and there probably are crazier cycles you can hit that I think I've seen hit in like the TAS and stuff like that. But that's a TAS.
Okay.
So, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, actually, you know, it totally makes sense. Like, I feel like you would lose some speed trying to dive bomb, and it's No, I think I understand where that was coming from. But yeah, basically, what's difficult about that is the cycles and getting the train in the right position where you can do any strat at all. For most of us who are beginners and we try to implement the speedrun strat for that flight level, the train is already inside the tunnel by the time we get there. So we have to waste time chasing after it.
Boom. Damage boost right there. Amazing.
That was a damage boost.
great example of why you need to keep track of your sparks count, because that trick right there is essential for this route that the Ragamuffin is going to do. And the Ragamuffin, I think, is going for the old famous Saboom supercharge, or whoever invented it.
Yeah.
So we're going to see something crazy coming up very soon.
It might have been Spora. I think
really?
I heard that. Yeah.
Shouts out Spora, legend.
Yeah, unless there's like several strats in Lofty, which I think there are, like several supercharged strats. But I think some of them are rather than being alternatives, are just like extensions of the same. Right.
Yeah, I know. I think if I am aware correctly, the Ragamuffin is gonna go for the one that I think Saboom goes for. We'll see it. We'll see it very soon.
Ooh, we missed a cage.
Oh,
that's always like your heart sinks a little bit when that happens, but it's just a small time loss.
Yeah.
There's another one, a section like that in Jock, where you have to you're gliding down and you have to flame those like yellowish. I don't even know what to call them. Like those goons that are on the pedestals on those really high up platforms. You have to like glide and turn and get them.
Oh, the Norks with the balloons?
Yeah, I'm talking about Jock.
Oh, sorry. The Fools. Oh no, the weird monster things you're talking about.
The weird monster things.
Yeah,
the monsters.
For a second.
That's a good name for them, the monsters.
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea what to call them. They're really like kind of like nightmare fuelish.
Okay, so yeah, this is not the super. Wait, is this the super route?
I'd say this is like the optimal one, isn't it? This is the one that yeah, I think this is the optimal one. This route. But there are extensions to it, but it's not really been implemented RTA. I know JX, JXZZAS, Jazzers JX,
yeah,
has messed with that, and it involves continuing the supercharge from here. No, actually, before going to this place, clearing up that room where the fan chests are beforehand with the supercharge, and then extending it over here.
Okay.
Yeah, so sort of going around this area in a loop in a supercharge, and then continuing it to where the turkeys are, or the gargoyles, or whatever they are.
Yeah, didn't the task go in that direction also?
I honestly, I can't remember.
Yeah, me neither. Oh man. Anyway, yeah. Muffin is definitely showing off some of the more difficult routes for this level, and you do not have to do the most difficult tricks in this level. There's even a supercharge less route where you don't use supercharge at all, and it's actually really popular. I wonder if I believe Xando Toaster came up with it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that's the one that I go for. Yeah. Okay. Latif, you want to talk a little bit about Latif, Squid? Latif is kind of famous.
Yeah, risky part of the run. Essentially, the optimal way to do that section, in a RTA route at least, is to flame the fireworks chest and then collect the dragon whilst the fireworks chest is exploding. Makes sense, right? But if you do it like, there's a certain frame at which you do it, which I think in this case is like being too optimal in that situation is bad, because if you do it frame perfectly, what will happen is a crash. So as you saw there, I think the Raga opted to bonk into the fireworks chest and then collect the dragon to avoid
oh, good catch. Yeah.
to avoid
strategic bonk.
Whoa, did you see that fall just zip?
Yeah.
That was nuts.
Yeah. I'm not shocked though. Those fools have crazy animation proxies. You can actually get to the top of this level by using them. Like on top of all these mountains. Yeah. And like there's some really interesting platforming you can do. But when they're zipping like that, if you just do a jump and then a charge glide, you can get sent really high. And
oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and those techniques are used in the task.
Yeah, I even in your recent boss rush tasks, I've seen a few.
There were some forward
boosts or proxies off them.
Yeah, I got some really good forward proxies there and saved a chunk of time.
Really cool. Yeah.
And in my boss rush task, recently. I did an early kill on this boss. This is the only boss that you can do an early kill on. But the problem with that in an RTA setting is that all this entire platforming section here, Jock actually unlocks it as you do this chase. And so if you get the early kill on Jock, well then you can't unlock all these platforms and you can't get those gems up at the top. So Jock drops some gems, and there's also some gems up at the top. And the idea behind like the quote-unquote optimal way to do this is actually to do some crazy platforming to get on top of the mountains, get the ones on top, and then dive down and get an early kill on Jock. So basically doing the obstacle course in reverse.
Yeah, this is a crazy level, and here we're about to see this is definitely the optimal route. I think Wally, it was Wally that
yeah, this is a Wally clock ramp.
And we're gonna see Daraga is gonna flop against the very edge of this platform to gain height and land on the platform. This can be done in many ways. You can actually just straight up charge onto it if you get enough height and the timing correctly. It's very hard. Alternatively, there's another way you can do it. You can actually wall glide on the edge of this platform. There's a bit of a curve. Have we even spoken about wall gliding yet?
We have. There was artisans, so definitely we have.
Yeah. And you can use the wall to gain height. So you can actually gain height on the edge of that platform and glide your way over to the dragon. And that's the only fast thing that I've come up with so far in this game. But it is in the task, so yeah, shouts out me.
Yeah, your contribution to the task. That's right. But just a quick reminder on wall gliding. Actually, we probably didn't discuss it technically, but when Spyro's gliding, or anything for that matter, he follows at the rate of gravity, of course. So with when we glide against a wall, certain walls and at certain angles, we can preserve our height, and in some instances actually gain height. So, I mean, there are some really cool wall glides that you'll see runners do, but some of the more silly ones are in a task setting, and it kind of just breaks the game wide open. See, this is the section I was telling you about, Squid. Exiting Jock. You can't do that optimally only with left and right inputs. You have to throw up or down in there.
I see. I see.
Yeah, it's one of the proofs. Like I'm not sure. Like I mean, there's so much you could deconstruct about movement in Spyro. So I'm just gonna end it on I'm not sure.
Yeah. That's I think the best way to look at it. Is anyone really sure about this game? This homeworld. I think this homeworld has made people reflect on life the most. This homeworld.
Yes.
Yes. Thankfully, I've not dabbled too much into the pain and suffering that this homeworld brings, but
you're referring to any percent, just to be clear.
I suppose, yeah, I suppose any percent, and the bounty. I think the bounty's still up, isn't it? Like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For you mean Laura's bounty for consistent cohorts? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. If any of you in the chat watching are like glitch hunters, or you're aspiring to be, there's a pretty big bounty for finding a new consistent way to get Coveless. But here's the thing, y'all. We've actually found a lot of different ways to do Coveless. I actually found one recently as well. And all of them are just too hard. People will still go for them, but like, I mean, good luck trying to find a consistent Coveless. I mean, it's basically a tall order.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose you might be wondering, well, what does consistent mean? Trust me when I say the bar is pretty low. We'll take 10%, maybe 15. But anyway, it's not up to me, but
yeah,
you get the idea.
This level is absolutely my favorite level, I think, in the game, and there's many reasons for that. It's very, very cycle based. It's very, very RNG based as well. I think very RNG based, but definitely very cycle based. And you know, and just all these TNT crates that are being just thrown at you, that plays a big part in the randomness of the level. You know, the hitboxes, or the damage, or whatever you call them, the damage radius of these explosions can affect other parts of the level that you wouldn't even imagine be possible, and you'll find that there's a chance that you might have like a chest that has exploded early, like the fireworks chest coming up. you might find that's already exploded just because of the just the damage radius of some of these barrels. And even like even as far as like the idle animation of some of these Norks, like these ones here, can like affect how that how the explosion extends, and you know how that damage continues onto other enemies. You know, so there's a lot of improvisation in this level. Actually, this is probably like one of the most improvisation heavy levels. In my opinion, but it's good to practice because it's good for practice because there's a lot of tight movement as well. That's possible in this level, and just a lot of possibilities. So this is probably like the level I've probably spent the most in, just because of the possibility and just constantly replaying the level. There's always something new to run into.
Yeah, I can see that.
Great double right there.
And this level, North Cove, and the next one coming up, Twilight Harbor, we have to exit through the return home portal. A lot of times when I watch people play Spyro, it's people casually playing the game, like, or it's their first time, or not everybody is a speedrunner. And what you'll see, like beginners who play the game, they do that for all the levels. Like they'll collect everything in the level, and then they'll find the return home portal, and then they'll go through it. But that's actually only necessary in the 2 of the last levels. If you collect everything in a level, you can just pause and then exit the level. I know you might not be speedrunning, but I just thought I'd let you know.
Yeah, actually, what's interesting about that is there are rare cases where if the gem is right next to the portal, it's actually more optimal to enter the portal in those situations. Like we saw that in Treetops, for example. And I think in one of the any % routes in Clifftown also, they do that, maybe? Not 100% sure of that.
Yeah, I totally follow what you're saying. Yeah, and what you're saying is also true in Spyro 2 and 3 as well. Some like pausing and exiting menu is like often optimal in like 14 tally and 3 any, but sometimes like it's good to go through the portal.
Yeah, this is another just crazy level where you really gotta know the enemies, otherwise you might be screwed. You know, there's a lot of projectiles being thrown at you, and if you don't understand their behaviors, you're going to be taking a lot of damage, especially at a point in the game where you should not be taking damage because of a trick that's coming up very soon.
Right, yeah. One of the nicknames that us speedrunners gave to this level is Toilet Harbor instead of Twilight Harbor. And that's because this is where your runs go to the toilet.
Yeah. Oh, I think is this the Deo Man route, isn't it?
Yeah, we saw a little bit of Deo Man route, but what is this here? We're going back up and
okay.
Yeah, that was some improvisation there, but I wonder how difficult that is. Whew. Yeah, that's probably like a sort of like theoretical line. Yeah. I mean, Squid, honestly, we could probably watch the tasks like from here to the end of the time and still end up finding things. But I know we keep referring to it. I guess I'm probably like the biggest fan of like some of the Spyro tasks that have come out recently. But there's a 120% task that Muffin is playing the full completion category, and we also have an any % task. Now there have been tasks of Spyro before, but these are brand new. And they're like the first in like a decade in some instances, and they have all the latest strats. So believe me when I say a lot of the top runners and you know us, Muffin, we're looking at the task, and most of it's blowing our minds because of what Spyro is capable of. But at the same time, people are always curious to say, "Hey, can we do this? Can we do this? Is this a thing?" You know, they're always asking. It probably gets incessant as a top level runner, just like, "No, we can't do it. It's not viable. No." But eventually, you know what happens, right? As the competition heats up, it gets implemented.
I think power jumps and power bounces are sort of the next untapped potential. I'm just going to quickly plug Dave's Bag of Bones YouTube channel if you want to see more of that, because believe me, he's popping off right now in that field. Even you, Neon Green, have done a fair bit of that, like, you know, looked at those sort of really niche but sort of new and up and coming mechanics.
Yeah, yeah. And the power bounces are super interesting because they're totally sensible and viable. Like there's nothing difficult about them. There's some power bounces that are difficult to make the platform, and I noticed it's because like you have to do an awkward turn in the air. But like the mechanic itself to trigger the power bounce isn't too bad. Squid, you had asked in the Discord about it. Were you able to get answers you were looking for regarding the power bounces?
Yeah, I know I did. Shouts out to Days, Vagabones, and Aldeezy, a name that I had not mentioned yet in the run, who knows a lot about the game on a very technical level, even on a numbers level.
A veteran, right?
Yeah, for sure. And no, their help's very, very valuable. And I've been trying to look at power bounces and stuff like that, but it's not easy. I'd highly recommend people like check this stuff out and join the Discord, which is on the speedrun.com website.
All right, let's get ready.
Yeah. Here we go. Here he goes. There goes. Look how fast Nasty Nork is. Jesus.
Yeah.
Look at him go.
Freaking skywalking too.
Literally.
Doesn't even use the platforms.
He doesn't care.
Thanos.
All right. Here we go.
Woo! We got a good proxy. Oh no, I knew it. Oh no. Okay, but we still have blue sparks. That could have worked, except that if we tried to make that work, it almost certainly would have failed. So this is probably the best alternative. Oh, this is a good proxy.
Let's go.
That's a good proxy. This'll work. Let's go.
Beautiful.
Woo!
Beautiful. That right there, credit skip. Insane trick. Absolutely insane trick. Like,
my heart's racing. I'm not even playing.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Crazy.
The recovery was actually really smart too. I think that Muffin realized that the first time that yes, that we could have made that work. It's possible there wasn't enough height on that proxy, but the angle was low. And so I believe that Muffin actually was like, you know what? I have blue sparks here. Let me just run into the corner of the wall and try again. And wow, that was clutch.
Very much a psychological game, really, isn't it? Like when you get to that stage, you know, imagine you're on a hot pace and you're faced with that trick, and then you're also faced with recovering that trick. The pressure is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Was it CS:GO or regular CS? I think it was.
I don't even know. I felt I was just too hyped. I just didn't even like.
Yeah, I think. I know, me too. I think it was regular CS, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
because I think we exited Nasty's head. When it's CS:GO, we respawn like near the balloonist hawk, right? I don't think that happened.
Okay, I see. Right there again, the Ragga killed the thief with using the fan chest from a distance. Very essential for this.
Yeah, you can't actually chase after that thief. Everybody hates it, but actually what I found is it's not that bad. Different strokes for different folks.
Right, yeah.
Folks, I guess.
Just that there, where that plane is, there actually is an early kill for that plane. You gotta open, you gotta unlock the door and flame at the same time. Very accurate, but well recovered there. Well recovered there for sure.
Right. Yeah. Good recovery.
This next plane is really the. Sorry, go on.
No, you tell him.
Yeah, no. This next plane is really So you really need to know how to approach that and time it, because you're sort of timing it blindly, right? So if you do miss it, you do have to go down that tunnel, but actually the Ragga recover that very fast, because usually what happens is you have to go all the way down.
Yeah, actually, I want to talk about that real quick, because Muffin wasn't supposed to be running today, and we were practicing commentary, and we saw Adam do that in one of his runs, where he missed the second plane, but then recovered it that way, and we both were like gasping. And I imagine Muffin actually like worked on that and prepared it for this marathon. So, oh my gosh, just incredible play there to recover that second plane. I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah, I kind of want to play 120 more now that I know that. It's like, you can recover the second plane? I can do
Yeah,
that.
I was confused. I was really confused by that just now. I kind of like was not sure what to say there.
Yeah.
Because I typically have to go all the way to the end of that tunnel, and that like wastes a lot of time. And I was just like, wait, what? Did that just happen, or am I like tripping?
Yeah.
Here we are, and there you go. To pause to check the amount of gems.
Right.
And
Gotta
boom.
make sure you got everything and time.
GG.
GG's. Good job, Muffin.
GG.
Squid. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Squid. It was a pleasure as always commentating
Oh,
with
Neon,
you.
you too. You know how it is, man. Like, this was actually a crazy experience doing this.
Yeah. The run was super fun. Muffin played really well, but I think we got carried away talking about all the things that the Spyro community has to offer. We even mentioned like the Spyro Day that's coming up. Yeah, so like if you're a fan like we are, there's definitely plenty to sink your teeth into.
Yeah. And play Spyro Season of Ice on the GBA, okay?
You're a Season of Ice lover too. Let's go.
I'm plugging that right now. Full confidence.
All the speedrunners think Season of Ice is garbage, and they're right. But it's my childhood game, so I don't care.
I didn't know you were a fan of it too. Fair play.
Yeah. That was my childhood Spyro game. Yeah. Season of Ice.
I love that game.
But you know what was awful about it though?
What?
You have to charge using the shoulder buttons, so you're literally like pressing R to like charge. It's so bad.
That's awful.
Yeah. So I would rather play it on an emulator or have some different solution for that.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you both so much for being on commentary. Y'all did great talking about this game, the tricks and everything, and just the community in general. And that's awesome. It's awesome to hear that the community is so helpful and friendly, and just an awesome community to be around. And I want to give a huge shout out to Dragon Muffin for filling in at the last second. You kind of mentioned it earlier, but Adam the Dragon 1234 was supposed to be doing the run today. Unfortunately, they weren't able to, and hopefully they'll be able to do a run on the show at some point. But Dragon Muffin stepping up at the last minute and pulling off a really good run with some awesome tech and recovery and everything is really sick. So thank you so much to Dragon Muffin, and thank you so much to you too.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, Dragon Muffin absolutely killed that. That was absolutely sick. Absolute legend.
Yeah, the credits skip recovery and the second plane recovery, you couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, no, crazy. Yeah, especially obviously in this setting as well, like pulling off all of that, like it's awesome.
Yeah.
With all that said, we do have the Reignited run afterwards, so we are going to take a quick break while we get ready for that. Just a quick reminder before we go to the break, I do just want to remind everybody again that AGDQ 2024 will be live in person January 14th through 21st in Pittsburgh, PA, and we have speedrun submissions open until the 10th, and volunteer submissions are open until the 18th. So you can use !AGDQ in Twitch chat if you want to learn more about that. We're going to go take a quick break and we'll be back with Reignited Trilogy 120%.
Banging.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Games Done Quick Hotfix. We are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Spyro the Dragon. It released 25 years ago yesterday. We just watched an incredible original Spyro 120, and we're going to watch the same category, but on the Reignited Trilogy. I will hand it over to the runner commentary and let everybody introduce themselves.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Toasted Cat. I am going to be the one running, and I have the world record for this category currently, and Kara.
Hi, I'm Odd Kara, and I will be doing commentary.
Yeah, so if we just want to jump right into it, if you guys are ready, I can start any time.
Yeah, if you want to just give a quick countdown, that would be awesome.
Yep, all right. 3, 2, 1, go. So like we said, So like we said, this is the Reignited Trilogy. So it's going to be the same category of the same game, Spyro 1, just, HD. Which doesn't mean everything is going to be the same. There's going to be a lot of routing differences, gameplay, like trick differences, which you might have noticed immediately.
Yeah, didn't get Nestor. What are you doing, Cat?
I forgot. My bad. Get him later.
Yeah, surely you can get him.
Surely. But yeah. What's important? Yeah, so like I said, there's the game is rebuilt from the ground up in HD. So like all the physics are different, all the graphics are different, you know. So some tricks will still carry over, usually in different ways. There's also a lot of entirely new tricks. First thing, like pretty much every level is gonna have a at least somewhat different route. Like the Stone Hill starting off here is gonna be pretty much completely different.
Yeah, no, right off the bat, it is, you're going over to this area in a completely different order. I'm actually mostly an OG runner, and have more and more been exposed to SRT through Toasted Cat and a few other people. It's been a lot of fun to get to know the HD version.
Yeah, so she's gonna be here to ask the questions that chat wants to know, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So Stonehill is pretty straightforward. Oh, okay. I have not failed that jump in a long time. Hold on. There we go. Okay. There's just like a little mechanic. It's called a boosted jump, where if you charge and then kind of like slide your finger to X in a particular way, you get like a little bit of extra height and forward momentum in your jump, which allows you to make that roof jump right there. You kind of have to do it off like the very top of the rock, or else you don't have enough height, and that's why I failed it. So not a big deal. Just do a little backup wall glide to get back up. And then this is gonna be the first. Oh, sorry. This is gonna be the first thief in the run. Let me do this real quick. Sorry. There we go. Okay.
Thieves. I was just gonna say the first wall glide, if not on purpose.
Yeah.
Normally in the route, they look quite different than OG wall glides.
Yeah, in the original game, you kind of have to just like be parallel with the wall to get more height. In this game, you have to kind of push against it in a particular way. So it looks a little funkier, but you still are able to get height in a lot of places you aren't supposed to. And then also that
it
thief
reminds me. Sorry.
Yeah. Now also that thief that I got earlier is the first thief of the run. You probably saw last run. You have to get 12 of them in this game. And they are insanely buffed in this game. They run a lot faster and are a lot trickier to catch. So like that one, I had to run at him in a very particular way to get him to go one direction and not the other. And then you also have to be in the air when you kill them, or else the cutscene will play, like the little egg get cutscene, and that's unskippable, which was like 4 seconds. So
it's not skippable in SRT, no.
Yeah, which is why you want to make sure you're in the air, or else you're losing quite a bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're gonna get Nestor. I lied to you or not.
No, Cat. You need him. This is 120%.
Surely third time's the charm, right? No, third try. Yeah.
We like to just keep Nestor locked up a little extra time for his crimes. He is in fact the real criminal mastermind of Spyro the Dragon.
Right. I mean, if he was on our side, why would he not tell us like what we need to do besides just get more dragons? And then he says like, yeah, got nothing else for you.
Just get more dragons. Don't worry about the big evil Master Nork. Or is he evil?
Yeah, what's the running theory? Like that he, oh, what even is it? I can't remember.
I don't even know.
There's like a meme theory that he's the good guy and all the dragons are evil. I don't remember.
The dragons are stealing their gems, their life force, and turning them into gems.
Something like that. I don't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah, so Town Square. A lot of the levels in Artisans are going to be pretty straightforward just because there's a lot of like low value gems lying all over the place, so there's not a lot of ways to like get around the levels that are going to be too interesting. This level,
you just gotta follow those gems.
Yeah, this level is going to be kind of tight in particular because there is a cycle near the end that I want to hit. There's like a bull running around a fountain, and you want to do the whole level like good enough that you can just like kill him without having to go out of your way. And then other than that, there's just going to be this next thief coming up, which is the last one we'll see for a little bit. But see, I'm going to purposely let him run a little far away and get some of these gems. And then I'm gonna wait here, and as he jumps up, you can just catch him with the flame, and so you can skip that animation. So, oops. So that pull was on a good cycle, so that means this one should be good enough. Yeah. If you do the whole level good enough, he's just right in front of you. You don't have to go out of your way at all.
So the enemy cycles are just always running once you're in the level?
Yeah. For the most
That
part.
makes sense.
With a few little exceptions.
Yeah, surely.
Alright, so then this time we're actually going to get Nestor. No, we're not.
There's no way.
Or Nestor.
Poor thing.
Yeah, I didn't explain. One of the things you might have noticed is that we're not actually like leaving the levels and just, you know, exiting them. We're just going back to the start of the homeworld. And that's because there is, in Spyro 3 in the original games, they introduced like the atlas and the guidebook, and you were able to, at a certain point, warp to levels you've already been to. And then in the Reignited Trilogy, they just made that available for all games and all levels. And anytime you enter a level, you can warp back to it. So it's faster for most of the levels in Artisans to just go back to the Artisan's homeworld right at the start than it is to leave the level and go wherever.
Yeah. Makes sense. It keeps less of the backtracking.
Yeah. Like,
A lot of the levels are pretty centrally located.
yeah. Like for Stonehill, it was only like half a second doing that, but for Town Square, it's probably like 10, 15, something like that. So it's a nice bit of time save. And then this is the first flight level of the run. The goal is there's like 4 sets of collectibles, and you just need to get them all without crashing. Pretty simple. This one's actually probably one of the harder ones, just because like having those plane cycles line up is a little difficult. But luckily, no problems. And then these arches can be a little funky sometimes. When they break, they're like the debris that comes off of them is still solid. There's actually a spot that I tried to do it on. You might have saw I kind of got like slowed down and launched up going through like that arch right after the planes. If you do that right, you can actually get launched like forward, and it's pretty precise. But it didn't work that time. And then just gonna end it on an animation cancel. Usually when you end a flight, Spyro will like fly up and all the little things will like spin around and finish collecting. But if you hit something while that's happening, it'll just stop playing. So you can go past that chest enough that you hit the wall, and it will keep that from playing. Spyro is kind of a game of like little time saves, where like all these like 5-second or less time saves kind of add up over the course of a whole run, you know?
Very similar to how OG is with like flame charging and other little tech.
Yeah, exactly.
Both games are very like movement focused in their own ways.
Yeah, it's really cool because even though they're exactly the same game, like, you know, from a a casual standpoint, they play very different as speed games, which is fun. As someone who runs both, I really actually like that.
Yeah, you're one of the like few people who has like a really high level like time in both games.
Yeah, I think most people that I've talked to have tried both say like it's really frustrating being good at one and then having to start from square one at the other, but I actually really enjoyed that.
And you also switch between the games pretty often, and seemingly with not as much trouble as many would assume.
Yeah. I'm just lucky in that regard, I think.
Yeah. I remember when you started de-rusting recently SRT stuff, having a few OG, routing issues, but nothing major.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is switching between them is just remembering routes and stuff more than movement and tricks.
Which that happens within games. Like switching between any percent and 120% is hard enough in terms of the routes.
Right.
And even Vortex.
So, yeah, not too much interesting going on right now. It's kind of rambling. Just kind of very straightforward, pick up all the gems. There's some kind of tight jumps going from that platform and then from this one back to skip these stairs, but otherwise not too bad. Just gonna get the last dragon here and then clean up these gems. And then the reason the level is routed this way, this is like the optimal place we would end the route anyways, but we do have to jump into that vortex because we're going into the first boss level, and this dragon head doesn't open unless you have left another level through at least, or through a vortex at least once. So we're just gonna make sure we jump in that so that this will open when we get to it.
Is there any way to get into the toasty head early, or is it just completely not possible?
Not that I'm aware of. It might be a way, but it wouldn't even really be useful in this game like it is in OG just because of the route we have for artisans.
Yeah.
It just works out with
me save time.
Yeah, with all the guidebook warping, the route already kind of works out as well as it can, I think. But yeah, this is the first boss level, and if you saw it in the last run, all the bosses in this game are kind of pushovers, and that's not much different in this game. The level itself is actually pretty hard, because I'm going to start doing what we call flame roll cancels here, which is if you flame, and then you roll to cancel the flame, and then jump to cancel the roll, and then flame again, you can get 2 flames out really fast and let you kill these 2-hit dogs in almost no time. Also, they can also be a little jank.
Some of my favorite tech to watch.
Yeah. They can be a little jank sometimes and live the double hit if you flame them in a particular way, so it's also a little dangerous. We need to be leaving here. We always need to have at least a Sparks for almost the whole run, because if you've noticed, he kind of picks up gems when you run by it, and if you don't have him, it makes getting gems a lot slower, because you need to like manually walk into them all. But we specifically want to be leaving, ideally on gold Sparks, but at minimum is blue, because of the next level I'm going to be taking 2 damage abuses, and there's only really 1 opportunity to get a fodder between now and then, so... And then just messed up the menu a little bit. Guidebook back out. And then this time, I promise we're getting Nestor. It's real this time. There he is.
Our final chance.
And also, if you watched the last run, I don't know. Well, it wasn't Adam actually doing it. It was Chrissy. So she would not have gone for Nestor skip, I don't think. But there is a relatively new skip for the original game where you can skip the Nestor cutscene because it's like 20-something seconds long. But we've had that in this game for a long time where it's just, if you jump like right before you touch the dragon, for some reason you're just able to skip him. I could not tell you why that works, but it just does.
A lot more convenient than OG.
Yeah, it's really nice to not have to watch a really long cutscene at the start of every reset. Or for us, it would be at the end of Artisans, which, you know.
Kind of convenient that way too.
Mm-hmm.
On to Peacekeepers.
So the actual homeworld route here is... Actually, the homeworld route in Artisans was different too. But the homeworld route is going to be different here as well. In OG, they did like the wall glide to get the night flight early. We do have a trick to also get the night flight early. And we used to do that, but the route we do now is just a little bit faster. And it's nicer because you don't have to take damage abuses to get across to night flight. Which used to be really annoying, especially because when we were a long time ago when we did that route and we were worse at Toasty, you would often leave Toasty, you know, taking like 2 hits pretty consistently, and then you would not have enough health to do the skip over to night flight, so you would just have to reset based on that. But luckily that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah. Now, fodder routing is always stressful in any Spyro game.
Yeah. Gotta account for just being at full health because you mess up and take damage, and also just the fact that it's optimal to take damage in some places. So just gonna grab that thief real quick. Yeah, the thieves look easy when you do them right, but I promise you, like, if I had messed up and not killed him, I would have been chasing for her at least like 20 seconds. They are brutal.
Yeah.
If you don't
I always hear that the thieves are way harder in SRT than they were.
They are.
OG.
We do have like convenient setups to get all of them quickly, but if you mess any of them up, even as a speedrunner, it's a very long recovery. Boris is free. Just gonna do a little jump over here. This is the intended way to get over here. And then if I do this right, I'm just gonna like get stuck. Yeah. So if you just touch that dragon in a particular spot, Spyro will get stuck on his way to like the spot he's supposed to stand for the cutscene, which is nice for us because we want to be going directly the other way right after it. So just Saves a little bit of time not turning around.
And that's just the kind of thing that you just find on accident and then eventually figure out how to replicate.
Yeah. Oh. This jump's a little finicky. There we go. And then here's both the damage pieces I'm gonna take. There's one right here and then one right here.
Just homing in when you slam into the fireworks chests is very nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really convenient. It's especially nice because it happens anytime you charge into them, including with supercharge. So a lot of the supercharge routes that work wouldn't if the gems just like flew out and went on the ground.
Yeah, wow.
Which we will be seeing in the next level, not yet. Yeah, just gonna clean up the rest of this level. One more dragon in here. The last of these spring chests, and there we go. You also might have noticed in this game you can the spring chests normally you have to like flame them, the gem will pop up and you have to like jump into that gem to get it to collect. If you're like at the right height charging up or down into it, you'll kind of just hit it and then immediately grab the gem and it will just break, which is really nice. You can like very quickly clean up, especially like those rows of 3. Oh. And then the thing I just tried to go for there is called a fly-in skip. So if you've noticed in the other levels, at the start when you're entering the level, Spyro will do like a big loop-de-loop. You'll see it in a second when this finishes loading. And he'll spend like, I don't know, it's like 7 seconds, I think, in the air before you actually like get control and he lands. Yeah, this thing right here. But if you pause on the same frame you touch the portal, the game considers you like actually in that level. So if you look on like the little at the bottom of the pause menu, it'll actually say you're in this case Clifftown. And then if you quit game and continue like from the main menu, the game will remember, oh, the last level you were in was Clifftown, and then it'll put you in there and skip that big loop-de-loop, which only saves time on a handful of levels, but it's a nice bit of time save. But like I said, it requires a frame perfect pause, and we are running this game at 50 FPS, so it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Clifftown is one of the biggest time saves with the fly-in skips, right?
Yeah, it's about 4.5 seconds. Also, that jump. This jump's a little finicky. There we go. Make sure I get this thief. Yeah, get that a little safe. I was supposed to manipulate that thief so that he was a little bit farther the other direction, but because I messed up the jump once, he ran away a little bit, so I just had to like make sure he did not get away or else, because that's another one that's like really bad to miss. Got that blue gem, good. Yeah, this being 120, you do have to make sure you get every gem, so missing one can be a lot of time lost later on, so just gonna play it a little safe and make sure I'm picking up everything as I go by. Rather lose half a second double checking than losing 30 seconds later on looking for it.
Do they give you Sparks Finder in Spyro 1 or no?
Yeah, they do. And you have it the whole game.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so if you... That's a nice like quality of life change from the originals. If you just hit L3, Sparks will point towards the nearest gem. So if you do lose one, you can go check for it that way. But obviously in the context of a speed run, if you're ever doing that, you're already losing a lot of time. So it's, you know,
yeah,
not really helpful to us. Yep. And then there's a little spot in the cliff right there. You can kind of just jump back up, save a little bit of time. Gem count's looking good. Have not missed anything. Just gonna get these last 2 guys. A couple gems over here in this corner, and then we're good to go. Next level coming up is Shemp, which is another boss level. This one's even easier than the last. But first we're going to do... There's a little trick you can do here with the cannon, where if you the game will actually accept multiple inputs of whatever direction you're going in for the cannon. So if you, for like that cannon, I was turning right on D-pad and analog at the same time to get it to turn twice as fast as normal. That even applies to your keyboard too. So in theory, you can have right on analog, right on D-pad, right on WASD and your arrow keys and go 4 times as fast. But I do not have big enough hands for that. I do triple input in Dreamweavers on that cannon because you're just turning it for so long it's worth it. But for that one, you just do double because you gotta wait on the cannon shots anyways.
It is so interesting seeing the similarities and differences between the routing for OG and SRT, because certain levels just have such obvious like lines that you're going to have to take, and other ones you're going to get really creative solutions in either game to break the obvious lines.
Yeah, like there's some stuff that's just, you know, not going to change no matter what the mechanics are, because you have to just get certain things at the end of the day. Funny little thing there you might have noticed, I actually jumped up onto the platform to fight Shemp and then went back down for the dragon, and that's just because it triggers his like animation where he taunts you early, so it plays out during the dragon. So as soon as you get up there, he's just ready to get hit. Grab all these gems that pop out. Oh, I also didn't mention this. I think Stone Hill is the only one so far, but there are these key chests. Oh, there was one in Dry Canyon too. There's a couple of key chests where you have to find the key somewhere else in the level and then go find the key chest to unlock it. So there is some levels where, you know, you have to route around that where you get the key before you get to the key chest. A lot of them after this point we end up breaking with supercharge, so we don't have to worry about the key at all.
Very convenient.
Yeah. And then coming up here is the next flight level. This one's probably the easiest. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, Night Flight doesn't have any moving enemies, so
Yeah.
it's always going to be the same thing.
It's the only flight level I think that doesn't have any moving targets, right?
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that for a long time, but it makes sense why it ends up being the easiest.
Yeah. Also, something I didn't note in the last flight is that Spyro moves faster the closer you are to the water. So you'll see me a lot of the time, like right here, I'm going to dip down close to the water, just because it ends up being faster because you're gaining that extra bit of speed. And it looks a little risky when you do things like this because you're charging all the way down and then gliding right in front, but it ends up saving a little bit of time overall.
Yeah, the flight level movement is especially cool in SRT, I think, because of the way you're able to charge out of gliding to take certain turns tighter.
Yeah, like you just saw me do right there on that arch. That's possible in OG, but it's extremely difficult and nobody goes for in runs because of it. 101.7 is a really good night flight there. It's actually the best I've seen in a while. So, coming out of here, there's another key chest in just a second. There's actually a thief too. This one's one of the best ones to miss if you do, but it's also the easiest to get. You just kind of jump across the little lake right here and flame them. Get that key while I do it, and then just go turn around and get the key chest. This is the main thing that we changed from the route that makes it so that Night Flight Faster isn't first, is you're able to kind of end in this room, and normally you don't really have anywhere to go. You kind of just have to run out and do whatever, but we've figured out you can guidebook back to Shemp, and then that puts you closer to Ice Cavern, so it makes it a little bit better. Also, you may have noticed I missed these gems at the start of Shemp, and that was actually on purpose, because it's a little bit faster to get them when you go back for the revisit and then leave, rather than get them on the first visit.
It is crazy the creativity you need to have when considering all of the options that the guidebook allows you to have.
Yeah. And you'll see another instance of that right at the start of the next homeworld, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Because that also combines into supercharges, which are a lot different in this game and are going to be really fun to show off. For now, Ice Cavern. I think this is the only level in the game that has 5 dragons, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think so too.
Or is Dark Passage also
If,
have 5? I can't.
Dark Passage might.
No, it does. Okay, so there's 2. There's only 2, so this one's still special.
Ice Cavern is when considering dragon routing for categories like OG any percent and SRT NBS is a level where there's a lot of dragons to be gotten, and so it is very useful.
Yeah. Speaking of NBS, there is a separate category for any percent and the any percent no major skips, which is called any percent no balloonist skip, which OG does not have. Their any percent is like the no major skips.
Yeah,
there is
you need to find balloonist skip.
Yeah, there is. One day. Surely it's out there, right? It's been 25 years, but just a few more, someone will figure it out.
Yeah, sure. Hey, they did that with Nestor Skip, to be fair.
That is true. Yeah, like I said, Nestor Skip was like a very recent discovery in the overall speedrun. It's like a few months ago, I think, at this point.
That was also the first death abuse right there, right?
What do you mean? Yeah.
Like the in of the run, yeah.
Yeah, that's the first place. I died there intentionally because the key chest for this level was right up behind me, and the key to it was down there on like a little island. And the key stays in your inventory if you get it and you die, so it's worth it to just grab the key and then die. It kind of puts you back up where the key chest is.
Is there any sort of life routing for SRT compared to like OG has?
No, because the reason OG does it is for credit skip game over, because it's slightly faster when you're doing credit skip game over when you die than to just die. For this game, there is nothing that would benefit from a game over, and even if there was, they added skill points in this game from Spyro 2 and 3. So you get a bunch of bonus lives throughout the run, so you end up with way more than you would ever be able to game over with anyways.
Yeah.
You also
that's convenient for when you're not great at the game and dying on accident. But
yeah. You do not, even if you're like pretty bad, you shouldn't really need to go out of your way for too many lives. You just get a lot for free. They also added the thing where in Spyro 2 and 3, like I think it's every 10 fodder you kill, you get an extra life. They brought that to this game, so you get extra that way too.
Well, that's so nice. So is that how it works in 2 and 3?
I think so. That's how it works in this game.
That's crazy.
I feel like it's the same in the originals. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I don't know. I don't play Spyro 2 and 3 often enough.
Me neither. Yeah, so this is
something so alluring about the first one.
True. Yeah, so this is the end of Peacekeepers. Just gonna get these last few enemies and gems, and then head over to Magic Crafters, which is, in my opinion, where the run gets really fun. You also might have noticed, all the balloonists? Yeah, they have voice actors in this game. I forgot they don't in the original. It's funny. Yeah, there was a little trick I did on the balloon. I'll point it out again when I get to the next one. I forgot about it in Artisans. But if you jump into the balloonist dialogue like trigger, and then you get through the menu before you hit the ground, the timer will time with a loadless timer, and it'll actually pause like 2 seconds earlier and save you a bit of time, because it starts loading the next homeworld early for some reason. There's so many things in this game that it's like, I don't know why they work, but they do. I wish I knew why, but I have not figured it out.
Yeah, there's so much that because it is a newer game, there's just been less stuff discovered about it, which makes sense and is a little bit unfortunate, but with time, knowledge will come.
Ooh, no. Yeah, I went for the frame perfect pause there. Did not edit. Hopefully I'll hit. There's 2 more chances I have to hit it, so hopefully I can show it off, at least what it looks like. It's for the end of the run. But you may have noticed, if you know the original game, or if you know the game's kind of layout, that I kind of just skipped Alpine. And one of the reasons for that is, like we said, there's guidebook warping. So it's a little, the way the route works out, I'm going to be going back to high caves a little bit. So it makes the route work out. And then you'll also see in this level, supercharging, which I can kind of explain now before we get to it so you know what you're looking at. In the PC port of this game specifically, they added keyboard mouse support, to play on PC. And if you are if you're charging and you want to steer Spyro, you can use like WASD, or you can use the mouse to like steer him. And if you use the mouse, you can actually turn a lot sharper than you can if you're just holding left or right on like your D-pad, like your analog or D-pad or the keyboard. And while that doesn't really affect normal gameplay that much, when you are supercharging, you are able to use the tighter turns and the tighter speed to do a lot more than you would usually be able to. So this is going to be the first instance of it. I'm going to focus to make sure I hit everything I need to. There we go. Nice.
Wow.
Very good.
I haven't noticed it until now, but the particle effects, I feel like they really get in your vision in SRT when you're doing the long supercharges.
Maybe it's just because I've been doing it for so long, but I don't even notice them. I think you can actually just turn that off in the settings. Oops, did not mean to bonk there.
Interesting.
No big deal. Yep, and then this is why we do this homeworld order this way, is because you're able to get like everything between high caves and Alpine and break that key chest so you don't need the key, and then come over here to Alpine. And then right when we're done with Alpine, I'm going to guidebook back to high caves and finish off that level. And that means when I exit that level, I'll be at the top of the supercharge ramp again, and then I can just go supercharge over to Wizard Peak. So that's why this homeworld route kind of goes the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that homeworld route was really fun to figure out. I really like how that all comes together.
How much of the routing was stuff you figured out, Kat?
Quite a bit. Like, I would say probably like half of the current 120 route is stuff I've come up with.
Wow.
Just because I've been running the game for so long. I started running the game back when nobody else had really looked into like this game in particular. It was mostly just original game runners who had tried it and were like, let's just do the same thing we did in the other game in this game. And they were just kind of like, yeah, if it works, we do it. And if it doesn't work, we just do whatever like the slower backup is. So like, I was one of the first people who looked into it, like what can particularly be pushed in this game, So it's not necessarily that like I have put in a lot of time to looking for stuff, but it's not like I'm smarter than everyone else. It's just I started looking when there was nothing found yet, really.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully make this cycle. Yeah, just barely. Yeah, so Alpine's pretty straightforward, just a lot of cycles. This looks kind of bad, but this is just like an ideal cycle. It's usually just what you make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the cycles are a little bit less forgiving in SRT compared to OG, because you can't really force things to move at your will like you can in OG.
Not really. They also are just slower in general, which means they're easier to, they just like move slower, like on the on-off states. So like they're a little easier to make, but well, it depends on what cycle, but they usually are a little easier to make, but they're a lot more punishing if you miss them.
Yeah.
The cycles in this level are actually pretty difficult to make for Doji, I would say.
Mm-hmm. It looks like it.
And then right here, this thief is in, actually let me do it first and I'll explain it because I need to hear. Okay. So this one's really funny because The way they work is like you noticed when I landed, he was like laughing at me. He was doing this little taunt. If you run at him while he's doing that, he skips like his little startle animation and just starts running, which makes him actually like impossible to get there, or nearly impossible. So it's what we do is we wait for him to, depending on what cycle you're on, for him to stop laughing and then go, because it makes it a lot more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And that one's probably the worst thief to miss in the game. If you miss him, you're doing like at minimum 2 laps, usually 3 around that little like track to get him. It's
Jeez,
pretty
yeah.
bad. It's like a 40-something second time loss. It's really bad.
Also, hadn't even realized you had skipped as much stuff as you did in high kicks
Yeah.
to get on the revisit.
Yeah, and like it seems a little slow doubling back through that cave that I supercharged through, and it is, but there's just no way you can't control the supercharge like so tight that you're actually able to get all the gems like in the corners and stuff. So we just kill the spiders that you need with supercharge there, and then just run back through and get all the gems with normal movement, and then just clean up this area. So it kind of just all works out kind of neatly.
Mm-hmm. In Supercharge, is there anything special you have to do to avoid an animation for the eggs as you collect them?
Animation, yeah, you do still have to be in the air. That is,
Okay.
yeah.
That is. Adds another layer.
Yeah. I was also just worried about my gem count right there because it was 2 under what I thought it was supposed to be, but it was actually 2 over. And I got a chest that I didn't usually, because in OG, the gem count's 2 over what you would think. So, one of the few cases where like knowing both was going to mess me up right now, but it's fine. We are all good on gems, have not missed anything yet. So this supercharge route is the newest that I'm going to go for. There is actually a newer haunted in Dreamweavers that has been discovered, but I haven't actually learned it yet, so I'm not going to be going for that. So this is the most recent supercharge route I'm going to be doing, and it's definitely the hardest, I would say, at least to me. I'd say at my peak, I was like 1 in 3 with it when I was doing attempts. So I'm going to go for it, and hopefully I can hit it, but I can't promise anything.
It wouldn't be a show without a few moments of spectacle and whatnot.
Right, of course. So this isn't the actual hard supercharge quite yet, but you can just kind of turn around here, and if you jump right at the edge of this fountain, you can get up here and skip having to do like a secret side area to get up there. And then this is the really hard supercharge, so I'm going to try and focus on it real quick. Oh, yeah, just kind of, that's like, there's 2 places, yeah. There's 2 places where you have to go behind these platforms, and like you're on very thin sections. I'm gonna go for it again, because I do have to go back there anyways. I missed gems before I died. Let me just, oh, no, okay. Man. Yeah, balancing on that like very thin path behind the walls is definitely the hardest part. Like, I don't want to go for this a 3rd time, but I'm going to because the gem's still there. I have to go over here, so might as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and then... So pretend I did that part without dying twice, and then hopefully this part goes a little better. A little bit of a slowdown, but otherwise that should be good. Yeah. So yeah, just pretend I did all that without like the 2 deaths in between, you know? That's what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, surely we can get the GDQ team to splice it, right?
Yeah, if you guys could just cut that out in post, that'd be good, thank you.
I'm gonna have to like get the timer on the individual frames too. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing about these supercharges though is that they don't even save that much time unless you're at like the top level. Like if you do all of that right, that saves like 15 seconds. It's and if you die at any point, you know you're losing. Like I am running my splits and I lost 35 seconds in that level. That was with the 2 deaths, but you know. So like this would already be like just from that level alone, that would be run way more than dead if I was doing like attempts. So you know.
Mm-hmm.
They're very cool, but very painful sometimes.
Yeah.
And then this flight is pretty cool. I like the, I probably should have said it before, but like, you know, you right at the start, you drop and immediately 180 to go through the arch that's below you. And then you can kind of just get all those planes backwards nice and cleanly. And then just once you do that, just got to go around and get all these arches that are just around. There's a really, really cool arch proxy that's possible on that one I just broke, but it's only ever been done once by someone on accident. And but it looked so cool when they did it. They just like launches you directly at that next chest you need to get. I wish we knew how to do it consistently. Yep. And then
Consistency is always the struggle.
yeah. Especially in this game. Like the main movement difference between this game, the way I always describe the difference between OG and SRT is like OG has a lot of like input dependent movement where like you just need to have like a high actions per minute and you know hit the buttons at the right times to like be consistent. This game is very analog heavy where like you need to have really consistent analog angles and be charging at places a lot of that like you know always correctly because since you have so much more control over the direction Spyro goes in this game than the original game, it's a lot more important for saving time. Because if you've noticed, I haven't explained this, but you probably noticed a lot, is like what I do is like when you're charging, you can kind of tilt left and right and do whatever. When you can also just really quickly let go a charge and then point in whatever direction you want and then re-press charge. So, you know, being able to come out of breaking a chest and then immediately point, you know, like however many degrees one way and then recharge is super important for doing things quickly. Yeah, this level is actually the one place in the game where we intentionally would go sparksless, except I do have an extra sparks because I did die in Wizard Peak. So normally on that firework you would lose sparks. And it doesn't actually lose any time because you're able to grab all of these gems from Blowhard out of the air, except the one I just missed. And then you get that one and then leave, and then there's a fodder right outside here, so you would immediately get sparks back. But every other place in the game you do want to have sparks, because it's, you know, he picks up gems. And then,
You like to go?
okay, I messed it up, but next Balloonist, they have two more chances to actually mention it.
What would you say is the hardest homeworld in SRT?
Dreamweavers for sure. Like
That makes sense. Always the latest one.
yeah, the Haunted Supercharge and the Lofty Supercharges are both like second and third in terms of difficulty, I would say. And they're like pretty close to Wizard. It's not like they're, you know, significantly easier. And then if I did learn the new Haunted route, that would I think that might be the hardest supercharge. I have not messed with it enough to say that, but it probably is harder than Wizard Peak, to be honest. So it would be like first and third hardest. And then Passage and Jacques are not easy either. Pretty complex movement.
Yeah, just because there's not supercharge.
Right. Still, yeah. I emphasize the supercharging it in this game a lot because it's so flashy and it is very difficult, but like just being consistent at movement, you know, standard movement all over the place is not easy either. It takes a lot of time to get good at. Coming up into Terrace here. This level is very cycle dependent. So you're going to see, not this first half of the level, but the next part, there's going to be a lot of electrical floors that will like turn on and off. And I ideally want to be making the fastest cycles on those, but that depends on how I play the rest of the level, so we'll see.
Yep.
Oops. Okay. Yeah, these cycles actually don't load in until I get to around this area, so me taking that hit doesn't affect them. They're loaded in now, though, so anything I do from this point is going to mess them up. Do a little bit of a tight jump there to get across that gap. That's not the intended way. You're supposed to go like up to the end of the level and then glide over to this area and do it later, but you know.
Yeah, I even forgot that that's the intended way you're supposed to do that.
Yeah, like the jump I did seems almost as intentional as the way you're supposed to, so it's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, need that. Okay. Let's make that. Okay, so there is a, because I dropped that gem, I was just slightly behind, but there is a trick in this game. I call it a shock jump. I don't think anyone else actually calls it that, but if you jump, there's like a few frame window between when these guys smack the ground and when the floor actually starts damaging you. And if you jump in that window, you can actually land back on the ground and not take any damage. So if you are off on your cycles, you can try and like fix them with that, but I hit one and then missed the other, so not terrible. Not too far behind. Get that fodder. Oh, okay. I was trying to get that fodder just to play it a little safe and then immediately lost it, so, you know. Coming up here is probably the hardest flight. I do not like wild flight. It's so annoying to me. I already got that. I'm a little messed up on the routing in a few places because I've been practicing the any percent category. I've been practicing the original any percent category and this game's any percent like no major skips categories for a different marathon I have coming up very soon. So, you know, a lot of routes in my head right now.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, no major mistakes, fortunately.
Yeah. Usually I can tell when things are any percent OG related.
Yeah, at the start of this flight, there's kind of two sections, and in this first section, there's a bunch of boats kind of going around with these arches, and I'm going to turn around and do them backwards, so, you know, just a little bit faster. And then this turn right here in particular is really finicky, so hopefully I can just, like, no problems get that, and then come down. Yeah. It doesn't look too bad, but it's a lot more annoying than you would think.
Yeah, learning that turn in OG was hard enough.
Yeah.
And I feel everyone always talks about how the flight controls in SRT are even a little finicky compared to OG at times.
Not so much finicky, it's just I think Spyro turns a little less sharp than in OG, just normally, which it's kind of made up for by the fact that, you know, you can do these like charge turns that I usually do. But in that one particular spot, you're just too close to the water to do it, so it makes it kind of awkward having to like just barely make those turns. Okay, made sure that gem got collected. Go for the flying. Oh, nice, I hit that one. So this is what the flying looks like. If you noticed when I paused, you probably didn't because I only paused for a very short amount of time. But it said exit level like as one of the options, and that's because it thought I was in Misty Bog already. So if I then go like quit game and then continue, like the game remembers I was in Misty Bog and it skips having to do that big loop-de-loop. Which is also really nice. It's convenient because when you quit to the main menu like I did, the game does not remember what Sparks level you had. So I was able to get a free gold Sparks by doing that, which is very
perfect
convenient.
for Misty Ball.
Yeah, because this is the hardest level for the intended reasons. Like, the enemies are really brutal. This is the level where, like, you are most likely to go Sparksless if you, are, you know, on your game completely.
All of the enemies are really out to get you, and their ranges can be absurd at times.
Yeah. Like that. Oh, yeah, see, it's just like, it's something like,
Just 2 in a row so quickly.
yeah. Just like that frog was in a slightly bad spot, so it caught me just like a few frames before I hit it, and then just before I even recovered more too. And there's also just like no fodder in this level. There's one right at the start, which, you know, doesn't help if you're already at full, and then there's one right before we go into the gauntlet, like, hard room right at the end, so there's at least that little bit of help. And then I always like this little section because you kind of come up in the middle and just sweep your flame and break everything, you know? And then you can come down here and land right on this little invisible ledge to jump a little bit faster around that corner.
It is really funny how the similarities arise between OG and SRT, even when it's for not the same reason that things are possible.
Yeah. Like, that little jump I did on that ledge is possible, but there is actually like a little visible ledge in the original game. Also, that was nice. I got the full health. Oh, never mind. There it goes. So yeah, this room's like so mean. Yep, there's just so many enemies, and now I'm Sparksless. Yep. They just put a bunch of enemies all right next to each other for like seemingly no reason. They just felt like being mean at this part of the level. Oh. Yeah. And then the one thing that you do have to remember, when you hit a fly-in, like I did at the start of the level, this game has cursor memory. So usually it stays on exit level and you can just menu exit and like immediately exit. But if you do that, you go down to quit game instead. So you have to remember to go back up to exit before you leave. And if you don't, you end up quitting the game again, which basically loses all the time you saved from hitting it in the first place, so not ideal. Now I'm gonna go over here and get this fodder so I have a Sparks for treetops. So, I'm gonna go for it. There's a little thing here that's not even that much faster. It says like 3 seconds, but it looks really cool, so I'm gonna try and go for it. But I'll get the key.
Showman.
Yeah, I usually don't get the key in this level, and I just wing it. And if I bonk, it's over. But I will grab it just for safety, just in case. Also, if you notice that little funny jump I did at the start of the level, you can actually jump. There's supposed to be like a little cutscene of you watching the thief run away right at the start. You can actually just like, before you get pulled into it, just jump out and around it and just not trigger it, which is nice.
Oh.
Saves like a second. So this first supercharge first is not that bad. Just gonna... Oh. Okay, hold on. Nice, just make sure, yeah. Yep. And then this one is the harder one. Oops. And through this window is the part I usually wouldn't do. Oh, yeah, see. You need like the perfect speed to not hit the top of the window, but not also be too low and like land on the ledge, because then you hit the step. So if you did have the right amount of speed, you could carry it through that window, kill the 2 enemies on the like right on the ledge, and then you could get across here and charge into that key chest and not have to open it with the key. And that whole sequence of going through the window only saves like 2 to 3 seconds. So for how dangerous it is, it's not worth it, but it's really cool. So
Yeah. And your speed in this game is just gradually increases as you're supercharging, right?
Yeah. So you just, as you are, the longer you've been charging, the faster you go. And you might have noticed during some of the supercharge strats, we will like lean into the wall to like slow down intentionally to make some spots possible. And then you kind of just gain speed over time after you do that again. Because obviously, being at top speed is going to be the fastest, but there are some sections that just aren't possible at top speed, because even though you can turn a lot sharper with mouse than you can just like with your controller, it's still limited. So
And the slower you're going, the sharper you turn, right?
yeah. And then coming up here is Metalhead, which is like the actually like only kind of hard boss in this game. Like it's the only one that it's probably the only one that you'd even like actually consider a boss.
It's puzzle-like.
A little bit. But that's not till like the second half of the level. So the first half's just going to be some cool movement. I'm going to go for this little thing. I actually haven't tried this in a while. I just know it's possible, but it looks cool. I remember it not being hard, so hopefully you can just do that to get up there.
The wall glides in this game are just so funny looking.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of wall grinding. I think they call it
A Hero's Tale.
AHT. Yeah.
So get another key. Yeah, so these monkeys that get like kicked and rolled at you, they're a little finicky, and sometimes they die in certain spots. Their gems won't collect, so I'm gonna stop and just make sure I charge into them, so I guarantee to get their gem. Just a little bit of safety.
Would it just usually land like just somewhere on the map you can get to, or will it end up somewhere like unobtainable where you have to reload?
It can very rarely end up like in the goo water down below, but usually it's like, because what happens is if they hit a wall that they like aren't intended to die on, or if they hit something, they'll just kind of like be pushed off course and not actually die. And then if they die in a weird place, the gem won't automatically collect, it'll just fall on the ground. So like sometimes they'll hit a fodder that's running around, and then that kind of just messes them up. So if you just like charge into them, that makes it consistently collect, And then this is the boss, if you couldn't tell. It's still not hard, just the closest to being an actual boss in this game. You gotta, these pylons go like on and off, and you gotta charge into them while they're off to kill him. And he also actually throws enemies at you to try and hurt you. But he's still dead.
Skill point.
Yeah.
You really do just give them out.
Yeah. I think there's a skill point for every boss beaten without taking damage. So.
Ah, that makes sense.
There's a couple they literally give out. Like the one I assume is supposed to be like a tutorial one is when you get on that like intended platform in Artisans that has like the one chest like right in front of where you start. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you get up there and that's just a skill point.
Good job. You did a kind of difficult glide.
Kind of difficult, but also entirely intended,
Yeah. Difficult for a casual audience.
Yeah. It's kind of just there to tell you, like, hey, they actually exist in this game. Here you go. And then hopefully if I did this right, I can make this guy cycle and then kill this guy. Yep, just barely. Unlock this key chest, and then there's a funny little jump you can do to get back up here without having to like go around again, just like that.
Ooh.
And then, no. Okay. One more chance on the balloonist. I'll promise that I'll hit the last one. It's not that hard. I'm just messing around.
Surely.
Surely. It's like, so it's funny. There's the Peacekeepers one, you literally jump into the text box because he actually has one less dialogue box than all the others. So it just works out that that's the best way to do it. The rest you have to do like I explained at the beginning of the run, there's like a boosted jump where you kind of charge and then slide into a jump. You have to do that like right into the dialogue box because that gives you a little more height, which gives you time to do it. So I just keep messing up that like timing on that boosted jump. Oops. I don't know how I didn't hit the guy. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Hello? Okay. I've never actually missed that guy. I didn't know he was going to shoot again. I was a little worried. It's Dragon. This is a concept. Yeah, this concept's introduced for this homeworld and used in a few levels where there are these fools, and when you flame them, they'll like lower a platform for a certain amount of time. You know, being speedrunners, none of the times are of any concern really, except for one in Jock, which can be annoying, very annoying to miss, but it's not too bad. Coming up here,
fools.
Yeah, those silly fools. Coming up here is what used to be the hardest super. No, I'd actually say Lofty is harder, but this one's still very hard. Even if I'm not doing the newest up-to-date hardest route. Because, ever since we found out about keyboard mouse supercharges, like, probably almost 3 years ago, I want to say. I don't remember exactly when. The philosophy for routing has kind of been, okay, how much of the level can we actually get while keeping the supercharge? Because you're going so fast, it's almost always worth it to be using it while you can, right? So the routes over the years have just been like adding more and more as we've gotten better at them, and just like pushing what's consistently possible. And again, this being 120, I do have to get every gem, so if you are supercharging and you like miss a gem and it's not convenient to turn around for, you are kind of just like screwed a little bit. You just have to take the time loss and go back and get it at some point, you know? Which is, oh, thank you. Which is, in particular, like there's one enemy that I'll point out when I pass him during the supercharge where he's like right up against the wall, and it's like you can take it safe and like probably not kill him, but then you're losing like 5 seconds getting him later, or you can try and supercharge him, but if you bonk, you're losing like 30 seconds to losing supercharge. So it's like a, you know,
risk reward depends, you know, the level you're at and how much you need that time save.
Yeah, exactly. So like this is the super urge here. This part's not too bad, just gotta go around here and make sure I get all of these enemies. And then this part's the tricky one. And then this enemy in the corner right here. Nice, okay, perfect. Getting him and then getting out of that corner is definitely the hardest part of this route, for sure. And then you might have noticed I got like a fairy kiss at the start, and that gave me like a permanent, or not a permanent, it gave me a temporary super flame, which lets me destroy metal, which you normally can't do as far as flame breath. But the reason the supercharge saves so much in this level in particular is because this is the permanent one. So now I can run around and break everything with the super flame and not worry about it. But by getting everything with the supercharge, I now don't have to go back to the first part of the level at all. I can just clean up the last part of the level where this is necessary and then go. It's like there are just some things you cannot get with supercharge, like up here. It'd be really cool if you could somehow get up here and maybe like we could potentially clear this out, but just not possible as far as we know.
That'd be really difficult if it were.
Yeah, it would be insane. Like I was kind of saying before, like we've gotten better with the keyboard mouse supercharges over the years, getting used to playing with keyboard and mouse. So it's like a lot of the newer routes are like things that might have been like thought of a while ago, but it's like, nah, there's no way that's ever going to be viable to do like consistently, right? But just because we've gotten better, they are becoming viable. And I'm sure there's a few more routes that are still out there that are like, if we just get a little bit better, maybe this is actually worth going for kind of thing, you know? Because every time I think the well is run dry on tricks like that in this game, you know, there's always something else found. So, you know, I'm at the point now where like, yeah, something else is probably going to happen at some point, you know?
Yeah. There's a certain point where you just have to give up saying like, oh, we found everything.
Yeah. So yeah, entering Dark Passage here. This level is the most cycle dependent in the run because there's going to be these fools that are going to like shrink and grow the enemies, and then like the dogs you can still flame when they're big, but the turtles you can't kill at all when they're big. So I'm going to be wanting to, to make all these cycles and be able to kill them while I can. You like are supposed to be able to flame the fools to make them small, but they also just go on and off on their own. So making these cycles when they are like naturally there is optimal. Or like in some cases, like those two fools I flamed intentionally just because you run by them and you have to. But then like up here, if I'm on a good cycle, I won't have to really stop and flame any. Just gotta little slow, so I have to do that. That's fine though. And then just drop down into the secret path here.
Ooh, secret. I definitely think that Dark Passage is, along with Misty Bog, one of the hardest levels casually, because the enemies can be quite, just with the changing sizes and the fact that you can't kill the turtles when they're big, just very complicated to deal with.
Okay. Trying a little too early there. Yeah. It's also a weird change, is like these Cupid arrow enemies are chargeable in this game, and they're not in the original. And I'm not really sure why.
I was about to say that.
I don't really know why they made that change, but it's
strange.
It is nice. It makes these sections a little easier and quicker. Just being able to charge through them.
Yeah, wow, that is so convenient.
Also, something I never mentioned, but is nice to know, is that the fastest way to climb stairs in this game is to, like, you want to jump up and then over the step, and then hit X again to like glide. And if you do that instantly, you'll glide down like onto it, and then you can just immediately jump again. So you'll see like right here, I can just like, which is pretty nice. A lot faster than just like jumping up each step individually. I know I didn't think of that until all the way in Dreamweavers, but just mention it.
It's definitely some of the highest concentration of like a lot of steps in a row.
Yeah.
Very vertical level.
So coming out here, this is like you saw when I was going into Haunted and messed up a little bit. This guy has a cannon and he's gonna shoot enemies and make them big and small. I need to shoot these guys that are blocking the way to Icy Flight. I just gotta shoot them anyways because they have gems, but they also block the way to the next level, so they gotta be small. He kind of goes around and shoots all the enemies in the level except for those. So just gotta shoot them.
It forces you to use this cannon.
Yeah. And then the auto lock is a little strong, so sometimes that can happen. You just or like you think you moved on to the next guy and you haven't. And then just gonna run past that firework for later. And then the Icy Flight. Icy Flight's one of my favorite flights, actually.
Flight level.
Yeah, this is the last one, if you don't count loot.
Yeah, I suppose.
This one is, I was saying, this one's probably one of my favorites just because the route looks really clean when you do it well. Especially this, like, middle section of this area. You'll see in just a second. Like these lighthouses right here, when you get all these. And then you like dive bomb after this one for this chest. Just feels nice to do, I think. And then I'm gonna go for something in this level, which you can do in every flight level, but it's only faster in other flight levels if you mess up and you're backing it up. Same kind of idea as a fly and skip. You can pause on the last frame when you've killed the last enemy, and if you pause on the right frame, the game sees that all the enemies are killed, but the flight, you still have control. So let me, come on, there it is. There's a lot of repauses, but it worked. So there's no nice place to end the flight there where like the animation gets canceled. So you can pause on, like I said, the last frame and then just quit, and the game will remember that you actually got everything and you can leave. And then funny little bonk there. Fall off and get the gems. There's no way to charge into that firework chest without falling off. Well, there is, but it's really precise. So it makes sense to come back out bonking afterwards and just fall because you're going down there anyways, even though it looks a little scary. And then this route is probably the most interesting, I would say, just because if you know how the level is laid out, what I'm going to do won't make any sense until you see me get to the supercharge. It's going to look like I'm missing a bunch of random gems for no reason. Like, I'm going to purposely not get that one gem. There's an enemy, that bird down there I'm just going to not get, you know? Gonna skip
Seems random until it all comes together at the end.
Yeah. And then oops. And then I'm still deciding mid-run apparently, but I think this is like the second hardest supercharge, so I will hopefully be able to show it relatively well. I'm also going to play it safe and get a couple extra things that I might normally leave behind just to hopefully make the supercharge as likely to happen as possible. Because, like, there's actually, if you're going for, like, the fully optimal, like, get everything... Oh. Ooh, okay. I did not mean to hit X there. My bad. Yeah, if you're going for, like, the fully optimal get everything supercharge, it is actually really difficult to do. Like, this is definitely the hardest one, but, like, but nobody does because it's just that hard. Also, that death doesn't affect anything, right? I don't think I've ever actually died in Lofty before the supercharge. It affected those birds loading in, I saw that. We should be good, I'm hoping so. Can't think of anything. Oops. If there are some Cupid enemies still in that bottom key chest area, that might be an issue, but hopefully not. Yeah, I'm gonna skip the key, and then this is the start of the supercharge, so I'm gonna focus for a second. I think I just missed the 2 gem there. Oops.
Yeah. I have a quota of like 1 thing a day, and I never exceed it. I cleaned that
okay.
1 room today.
Ooh,
oh, that's enough for
fine.
1 day.
That's fine.
Maybe tomorrow we'll get to the next room. We'll see.
Okay, I didn't miss the first one I thought I did, but I definitely missed the second one I did, so that's not the worst gem to miss ever. That was basically the route, though. Just missed 1. You can see it over there, actually. Just 2 gem laying in the grass.
Continue.
But normally you end the level right here, so I'm gonna be able to just like jump over and go get it. Not a big deal. But I just realized you can't charge these birds in OG either, can you? Now that I think about it.
I think you can.
Wait, oh, no, I'm wrong. You can. You definitely can.
Do their gems auto-home in this? Because they auto-home no matter what in OG.
Yeah. They don't auto-home if you flame, but they do auto-home if you charge. So they're like most enemies.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure they auto-home even if you flame.
Yeah, they do. I think that's because in the original game, they can, like, if they didn't, they would probably drop off the edge sometimes. But
and they're worried about that.
That doesn't happen in this game. Sometimes they'll sit on the ledge a little awkwardly, or like the edge of an island, but they'll never fall off entirely, so not a big deal. And then this is gonna be the last level
Submitted
boss,
this game to GDQ.
and then we
I
have
hope it gets
Nasty,
that.
the final boss in the next homeworld.
Yeah.
This boss is super easy. The level itself is actually kind of hard.
I already submitted
to
with the
do
Flame
really
Fatales
well.
video.
And then this is the one level that has that fool. That's like the only one you actually worry about. So
that one
hopefully it
has
shouldn't be an
that one
issue.
has the proper marathon
Oops, that's not the fool I'm supposed to be worried about. Just
animal
missed the
facts version.
flame. Not a big deal. Yeah, a lot of these cycles are like flames, or like the full timers can be kind of difficult if you aren't practiced with them, but if you know what you're doing, they're not too hard to make consistently.
Single cake.
Single cake. Yeah, that trick's a lot harder in OG than this game.
Yeah, it didn't look super tight of a jump.
Nah. I'm just gonna run past the dragon and get him later. Nestor flashbacks. And that was the boss, if you couldn't tell. Just kind of falls over and dies. I forget to even mention this is the boss, because I don't even think of them as bosses. It's just, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a checkpoint thing. It's like escort mission almost. You just, I gotta go this direction to deal with
Yeah.
this enemy.
It's less I have to get the boss and more there's just some gems over here I gotta get, you know?
He just happened to be in Jacques himself.
Yeah. Okay, and then this is the one fool that if you... Okay. I actually missed them, so the timer's gonna be even a little more lenient than usual, so there should be no issue at all. But if you want to get that fool like as soon as possible, to wait on this as little as possible, then it's kind of tight. But because I accidentally missed him, and like... It is a little bit less tight than usual, so it's not too bad at all. And then this jump looks a little scary, but you can just jump as soon as you flame this fool, and you'll always just barely catch that as it's coming out. Then leave the level there.
And that's Dreamweavers.
Yep, and then I promise I'm hitting this early balloonist. It's going to happen. I swear this time. There we go. So you can't see it, but I'm running my splits right now, and the timer just, and I did save like a little bit of time because of that. Which, speaking of my splits, I think I mentioned it earlier, but we mainly time this game with the load list, so the GDQ timer you see on screen isn't accurate to what we would be running against in like a real run. But compared to my splits, I am on a pretty good pace. This is like 111 pace load list, which is pretty good for me. So. Not too unhappy with this run.
Yeah, everything for the most part has been going pretty dang well.
Yeah, most of the big stuff has gone well. There's been a couple of like medium-sized mistakes that are kind of silly, but you know, those happen.
Yeah, that's speedrunning. That's why we do it.
Exactly. Yeah, Dreamweavers was definitely the hardest homeworld. This is probably a close second because Cove is just a generally really hard level. Twilight coming up next is not super hard, but there is a supercharge, and it's, if you mess it up, you know, big time loss. Nasty is pretty hard, and then Lofty is not hard, but if you're like on pace on a good run, there's a trick that's very chokeable, basically. So not the easiest homeworld for sure. Oops.
That's a cool kind of skip.
Yeah, you're able to break
Shooting
this
the barrel.
early, and it saves a full half a second.
Yeah, squeezing out the partial seconds.
Yeah, it's funny. You have to like shoot it a little bit more to the side than you would expect, because if you shoot it right at the thing, it'll actually like auto lock on because there's a little bit of that for the barrels to help you. And if it auto locks, then it actually hits the wall in the wrong way and won't break it. So you have to like intentionally avoid the auto lock to get it to break. Yeah, a lot of just hitting barrels into breakable things in this level or explodable. I want that red. I do not want to be on green spreads here. There is a strong chest right there that unfortunately is not breakable without this barrel. So we gotta go all the way up here with this barrel and then go back down. Make sure I get all this. This level is also where the boosted jumps I was talking about earlier come into play the most, because any of these enemies that you see that are like standing on these barrels, you can boost the jump and just barely get enough height to charge them off the top of it without hitting the barrel, and that's an optimal way. So like I did it a couple of times, and you'll see it on these couple of guys right here, hopefully. Yeah, like that. Oh, so that one was a little low. Otherwise, pretty good. And then I'm going to intentionally not grab the key here. Yeah. Elis is a strat in OG that saves like a tiny bit of time, but it's just a lot faster in this because you're skipping going to the end of that cave to get the key, and then also the key animation that you would normally have to watch. Which they didn't make skippable.
One of the things. Yeah. There are little things that are unskippable in SRT that are just funny.
Yeah. Like, I don't really know why, but it's also not really a big deal. It's like a 2-second little cutscene, so it doesn't really matter, you know, kind of thing. Coming in the Twilight, this is the last supercharged level, but I think it's still fun to watch. So there's also, okay, so there's kind of like 2 sections for supercharged. The first half of the level is one that we do all the time, and it's very consistent. It's probably the easiest one in the run, actually, if I had to pick. But the second half of the level is so hard that I think it's only been done once, and not even in full by me in like practice. So it's not very consistent, but like part of it is consistent, and I'm just gonna do it and show it off because it's cool. And even failing it is like the same speed as the normal route. So, you know, or like depending on where you fail it, but the part I'll hopefully get to is like the same speed, so it won't even be a time loss, hopefully. So I'm gonna go through here and pick up most of this stuff, and then starting from here, I'm gonna start missing some things intentionally. Because if you saw, there was a strong chest like behind where I just got that dragon, so I have to come back here with supercharge. Oops. Anyways, so you know, just leave some stuff for cleanup while I'm doing that. So I'm gonna raise this bridge, give these rats for some help. And then, like I said, this is gonna... I like the way this looks. I think it looks... Oops. Okay, hold on. Just hit the ground in a weird spot there and lost a bunch of speed. I think this one looks really cool. It's not hard, really. Oh my god, I'm saying that, but I just messed it up. Okay. That is the thing, though, with these supercharges. Is like, they're like, even this one that I don't consider very hard, like, you know, you just mistime a jump very slightly, lose all the speed, and then suddenly you just can't do it anymore, you know? So it is... Even the easy ones are still very chokeable and not free, you know? So hopefully land on the ledge like that time. Perfect. Then can come back around and get the last 10 jump here and then turn back around. 248 is perfect. And then right here, this is the second part that's like not really viable, but I'll do it. This is the coolest part, I think. You can just kind of get in that corner and just do 180 for some reason and not bonk. And then I'm going to carry it as far as I can, but probably... Oh. Okay, so... Yeah, so in theory, like if you were able to get it out of that room and go all the way down this bridge with like full speed, that would be like a really good amount of time save. but that room is insanely hard to get out of correctly. And then also those two enemies that shoot at you right near the vortex, they're just like positioned in a way where it's insanely hard to get both of them and not get shot. It's like I said, I've only done it ever once, so it's possible, not really viable. No. Okay, and then I went for the last fly and skip, and I did not hit it. So 1 in 4, but you know that's probably pretty on average for me. I'm not the best at the frame perfect pauses. Like I said, this game's 50 FPS, and there is no like visual cue for them, so they are pretty hard to hit consistently. Yeah, coming up here is the final boss, which you would be forgiven for not.
Nork.
Yeah, I'd forgive you if you didn't realize this was the final boss. It's not very hard either. I say that, so the boss himself isn't very hard at all. This level is actually very difficult, I would say, because in the original game, Nasty's pretty slow, and you can very easily, like this track you have to chase him on, you can get like all the gems along it and then hit him no problem. In this game, it is very, very tight to be able to get a 1 cycle. So I'm definitely going to try, but I can't guarantee. It's coming up here. Yeah, right here. This movement for this track has to be nearly flawless in order to make it. And then even right here, the way he works is the closer you are to him, the faster he runs. So on that part right there, I purposely got a little bit far away from him to slow him down enough to make this possible. Which I'm still not sure if I hit it. It's gonna be kind of close. That should be it. Yeah, okay, perfect. You saw he was already starting to turn as I flamed him, so. Also, I noticed, I think my dragon count coming in here was 78, which is not correct, so we might have to go looking for a dragon after this.
Oh, no.
It's not a big deal, I just don't know where I could have possibly missed one, to be honest. Like I said, I think we're well ahead of estimate, and with the guidebook feature, I can just go back to any level. So it's not going to be a big deal, but... Oops. Yeah, I'm at 78. Where did I miss a dragon? I have no clue. So that's all. That should be all the gems. Where? Haunted towers. Oh! Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so that's the one thing running other categories is messed up. There is one dragon over here that I just ran past. Because when you get to this point in the game, in like the any percent category, you don't need dragons anymore, so you just run past them. So I just literally didn't pay attention. That's funny.
That makes sense.
Yeah, not a big deal. Just do that and I'm already back.
That is definitely one of the easiest dragons to run past, even in OG.
Yep, so the reason I need to go get that dragon now is that this is the bonus level, so this Nasty's loot doesn't open until you have 100%, and then the last 20% are in this level. Which might make you think that it's a really long level, but it's actually not. There's a lot of high-value gems, and then they add up very quickly. So, right at the start here, I'm going to do what's called height cap break. This whole level is supposed to be like... The way it works is you have permanent flight in this level, and you're supposed to like hunt down these thieves who have keys, and they unlock doors, and it gives you like slowly as you progress through the level, you'll be able to fly higher and higher. But by doing that skip, where you have to like very precisely hold your analog slightly up and then move Spyro or start Spyro going up by holding down on your D-pad and then let go of it. It like tricks the game into thinking you're not actually going up because you're holding down on your analog, but you're able to get past the height cap and kill that thief, and when you get the last thief, it unlocks the whole level. So I can just go do this entire level out of order, which ends up saving like a minute, I think. I actually don't know for sure. This trick was found like right as I started running the game, so I never actually had to do this level without it. But I know it saves a quite decent amount of time. And then time's coming up in like 30-ish seconds. If I so just get ready on that. Oops. And then going into this final room is supposed to be like the big, like actual treasure hoard. There's all these 25 gems, you know, it's really cool. If you bonk these Spyro chests the right way, you can kind of clean up most of them with this charge and like not actually have to pick them up with sparks, which is nice.
Oh yeah, the homing.
Yeah. And then that's 2,000, and I jump, and that's the run.
GG.
GG.
Thank you. Thank you. So I don't know what that was RTA. That should have probably been like 5 or 6 minutes under estimate if I had to guess, but I just hit a 1:11:19 loadless, which for reference, 1:09 flat is record. So that was a pretty good run. Not too bad. Pretty happy with that.
That was like a 1:30:30 on our timer. I'm not
30?
sure.
30?
Yeah.
Is that
It's like
correct?
I'm questioning. It should be, but I'm questioning
Oh my
with how
God.
confident you are.
No, I just checked my real time. It was a 1:30. That makes no sense to me, but I'll take it, you know? That's fine. I have no idea how that managed to happen, but you know.
I mean,
Yeah.
whatever works, I guess.
I guess, yeah. Underestimate, you know? So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Do you have any shoutouts or anything y'all want to do? Or
I'd just like to shout out the whole Spyro community, OG and SRT. Almost all the people I've met through this community have been really cool, and I've really enjoyed spending my time here. So much so I'm going out in like 2 days to meet up with like 20 of them because they're just such great people. It's been a blast
that's
being here.
Wonderful community.
Yeah. Kara, anyone in particular?
Not that I can think of. Shout out Kat for doing this amazing run.
Yeah, thank you. Shoutouts to Kara actually for being here for commentary because, like she said, she doesn't run this game. It's just nobody else could really do commentary this last minute, so she, you know, was willing to step up.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to both of you. Thank you both so much for being on, for showcasing the game. Awesome. It was an awesome run, awesome commentary. So thank you both so much. Really appreciate you showcasing the game, especially for you know, the 25th anniversary.
Yeah, of course.
With all that said, because we started a little bit late, we're running a little bit late. So just a quick reminder before we go to our break to get ready for Legally Cute. That Awesome Games Done Quick 2024 will be live in person January 14th through 21st in Pittsburgh, PA. We've got your game submissions are open until the 10th. Volunteer submissions are open until the 18th. You can use !AGDQ in Twitch chat for more information on that. And happy 25th anniversary, Spyro.
Happy anniversary.
We are going to take a quick break while we get ready for Legally Cute. We'll see you in just a few minutes, everybody.